Ramaphosa's farm. This is according to a Hawks financial crimes detective who testified during the trial yesterday at the Mudimule Regional Court. David is charged alongside siblings Froliana and Dilinasho Joseph for breaking and entering into the president's farm and allegedly stealing $580,000 in cash. Thabiso Koba has more.
Out of the three accused, Emanuela David is the only one facing a money laundering charge. A financial crimes detective from the Hawks testified in court yesterday that a few days after the burglary at the Parapara farm, David opened a business account with F&B for a hair salon. The detective's evidence shows money into the account was withdrawn as quickly as it was deposited.
Transactional analysis of the account was for the period 2020, February 28th to 1st June 2022. During this period, cash inflow was 780,534.12 and cash outflow was 779,685.67.
The detective says there were similar patterns in another business account opened by David, which received over R1 million in deposits from his alleged accomplice, Eric Chikongo. Chikongo is alleged to have also played a huge role in the burglary. However, he reportedly fled to Namibia before he could be arrested. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
DA leader John Steenhuisen is expected to make a major announcement this morning that could have a significant impact on his political future. Speculation is rife that Steenhuisen may announce his withdrawal from the race to retain his position as the party's federal leader. The DA will hold its federal congress in April, where new leaders will be elected. Should Steenhuisen withdraw from the race, it is anticipated that Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis will put his name forward. Alpha Ramushwana reports.
From an internal party investigation into allegations of abusing party funds to claims that he mishandled the foot and mouth disease outbreak as Agriculture Minister, John Steenhuisen has faced a turbulent few months within the party and in his executive role. The DA leader was recently investigated by the party's Federal Legal Commission over claims that he misused party funds through his party-issued credit card. While the commission found no evidence of misappropriation, it said there was prima facie evidence that both Steenhuisen and former party Treasurer Dion George, who publicly raised the allegations, had brought the party into disrepute. Political analyst Dirk Kotzier says these issues could signal that Steenhuisen is considering stepping down from the party's leadership race.
But in the presence of Helen Zille, which continued to be a major presence alongside him, and which prevented him from really establishing his own presence.
Steenhuisen is expected to brief the media in Durban, where his political career began as a councillor. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Durban.
A member of the Gauteng Organised Crime Unit has been accused of sharing confidential police information with civilians. One such civilian is criminally accused Vusimuzi Madlanga. Yesterday, witness F began testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. His testimony is being heard partially in camera, with the witness testifying from an undisclosed location. Oren Singh has more.
WhatsApp messages between witness F and several notable yet questionable characters were scrutinized at the Madlanga Commission yesterday. The member of Gauteng Organised Crime confirmed that he facilitated communication between Vusimuzi Madlanga and his then boss, suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. The communication centered around the delivery of 20 Impala bucks to Sibiya's property, which were allegedly purchased as a gift by Madlanga. Evidence was also presented showing witness F sharing dockets and confidential police intel with the likes of Madlanga, as well as feared Bedford View private security company owner Stephen Motsumi. Madlanga Co-Commissioner Advocate Sesi Boloi.
Many South Africans will not sleep easy knowing that police officers share dockets, they share them with civilians in matters that are under investigation. It is a matter of concern.
Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
And 14 people have been killed after a Greek Coast Guard vessel and a boat carrying migrants collided. 2 Coast Guard members were taken to hospital and 24 migrants rescued. According to Greek media reports, 7 children and a pregnant woman were amongst those injured. Large numbers of migrants seek to cross the Mediterranean each year in order to reach Europe. The International Organization for Migration says about 33,000 migrants have died or gone missing in the Mediterranean since 2014. Gold is trading at $5,063.38 an ounce. The rand is at 15.97 to the dollar, 21.83 to the pound, 18.87 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.34 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy delays on the Makwa North between Boysons and Carr Street. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South between the Buccleuch Interchange and Greyston Drive.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 27 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN, the High Court in Pietermaritzburg is expected to hand down a crucial judgment in the long-running arms deal corruption case.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Calling all the brightest minds in Gauteng. Time to flex your general knowledge smarts in the brain of 702. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for joining us here on 702. I hope you're good this morning. We kick off the show, as always, with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Is John Steenhuisen going to run for re-election or not? And if he doesn't run, what does that mean for the Democratic Alliance and who's likely to take over from him? What do you think? There are several media reports since yesterday that are suggesting that John is going to announce at 10 this morning his decision not to run for re-election at the party's elective conference in 2 months' time. And all sorts of reasons have been given for this anticipated announcement, right? There are suggestions that the Afrikaans lobby group is not happy with how John has handled the foot and mouth disease outbreak. Some reports say he's leaving because there's unhappiness with that tit-for-tat he was part of with Dion George. There were also allegations that he is financially compromised. I'm sure he's going to be responding to that later on. So a number of reasons have been put up to explain his anticipated decision. Now, it's important to note that John didn't confirm that he will be announcing his decision not to run for a third term. In fact, he tweeted that, and I quote, "At 10 a.m., I will make an announcement of national importance. Until you see me outlining the full set of facts tomorrow, avoid speculation," end quote. His former campaign manager, Dean McPherson, apparently told News 24 that it's not true that John will announce that he won't be running for a third term. But here's what I think, and you can also share what you think about what's happening as well. I think John Steenhuisen was asked not to run for re-election, and he has been trying to negotiate a deal. Like, if I don't run, can it be guaranteed that the new leader who comes in won't remove me as a minister in cabinet? We have been here before, my friends. This is what happened to Mmusi Maimane, and the difference is with Maimane, there was a report about the party's performance and leadership that was used to kick him out. But he also jumped before he could be pushed. So whatever John announces this morning, there's a reason why this story was leaked by some senior people in the DA. They leaked it to the media, to almost all the media houses. And normally when things happen like this, then you must know that the leader has been asked to go and is refusing, or they're still negotiating his exit, and they want to put pressure on him. It always happens the same way. It starts with a leak. I also wonder Could it be that the Federal Legal Council, which was investigating him, has found him guilty of bringing the party into disrepute? I did contact a few people in the DA this morning to find out if this Federal Legal Council investigation against John Steenhuisen has been completed, and apparently not. The investigation is still ongoing, but it's possible that John may see where that is going to go, because you don't want to enter an elective conference with that cloud hanging over your head. I did ask Helen Ziller when she was on the show about the Federal Legal Council investigation, and she confirmed that the only people they're investigating now is John, because Dion George has now left the organization. And then last night, I had a conversation with Tony Leon on my show on the SABC, and how he answered the question I asked about John indicated to me further that the DA has been trying to get John to step down. Were you surprised at all by these reports earlier today that John Steenhuisen plans to bow out of the leadership race, or at least announce that he won't be entering it?
I wasn't entirely surprised because, on the eve, it's not quite the eve, but before any party elective Congress, and my old experience, the Democratic Alliance, there's always a lot of swirl around leadership and who's going to stand and who's in and who's out. And there has been a lot of controversy around John and some other leadership figures. So if in fact he announces he's going to stand down or not stand again, then I suppose it would be, broadly have been expected.
Broadly expected. Why would it be expected? And listen, you obviously have to understand Tony Leon, who he is, and the kind of role that he's played in the Democratic Alliance from outside as a former leader. Tony Leon is one of the people that produced a report about the DA's electoral fortunes and electoral performance when Mmusi Maimane was leader of the organization. And they also produced a report that looked at the leadership of Mmusi Maimane, which ended up being used to kick Mmusi Maimane out of the Democratic Alliance. Right? Tony Leon is also a former leader of this DA who has also been brought in during negotiations for the GNU. He was one of those that were guiding the organization, if you remember. They were guiding the party with just the approach that is best to take as negotiations continued between the DA and particularly the African National Congress. So this is someone who is still very much involved or linked in the machinations within the Democratic Alliance. So when he says, it is expected, to me, it means more than, and if it was somebody else saying it, sure, but if it's Tony Leon saying it, understanding the role he has consistently played from even outside, played in the Democratic Alliance, I think for me, there's a lot of weight that comes with what he says, if you analyze it well. So that's what Tony Leon said, but it looks like John Steenhuisen wants to announce this in a way that projects dignity and strength rather than defeat. But what is clear is there are people who want him out. Otherwise, the story wouldn't have leaked like the way it has. Someone also said to me yesterday that the funders of the DA want a new face ahead of the 2029 elections, because if the DA performs well, and they may have some leverage on who becomes president when negotiations begin, because we're in this coalition environment, you want to be able to be at a better position to have a strong candidate who can be the face of the party. So if he does announce that he won't run again, did he have a choice? Because he still hasn't been cleared by the Federal Legal Council. Should John Steenhuisen also follow through with this announcement? Does it pave the way for the Cape Town Mayor, Jordan Hill-Lewis, to throw his hat in the ring? That's the question. Because this is someone who has repeatedly said, Jordan Hill-Lewis that is, he's repeatedly said that he would not vie for leadership if he has to compete against John Steenhuisen. So let me know your thoughts on that on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 0727021702. Another question I want to ask you on the open line this morning is, can we take a few steps back and look at that decision the Madlanga Commission has taken? So they sent an interim report to the president, and in that interim report, they recommended that there are certain people who must be investigated because there's prima facie case against them. Now, there's a debate going on about whether or not the Madlanga Commission erred in making referrals for criminal investigations on people that are still yet to appear before the commission for the first time. And I'm asking this question because of the drama that unfolded yesterday at the commission. Witness F was on the stand. Remember, he's that senior officer alleged to have acted as the money collector for suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrach Sibia. His lawyer argued yesterday. In fact, he announced that they have now launched an urgent application to block Witness F's testimony at the Madlanga Commission. And their argument is that as someone who is now facing criminal investigation, he fears implicating himself. So his lawyer's argument is that what's the point of him appearing before the commission when the commission has already made findings against him? But then again, if you look at what the commission has said, they have not come up with findings as yet, like conclusive findings, right? The commission recommended that there must be investigations on several of these people where there's prima facie evidence, but that's not saying the commission found these people guilty on any charge. And the commission is not saying that these people must be charged, right? It says there's prima facie evidence, these people must be investigated. They may very well be cleared or not, but there is prima facie evidence, whether they've appeared before the commission or not. So your thoughts on whether you think it was actually the right decision to, especially for people who have not appeared before the commission and given their side of the story, for the commission to recommend that they must also be investigated. 011-883-0702, WhatsApps on 0727021702. So at 10 o'clock, we're going to listen to John Steenhuisen. We'll take that briefing live at 10 as soon as it begins. And then at 11 o'clock, we do our Listener's Choice feature. Today, we're discussing the possible impact of the proposed tariffs on Chinese and Indian cars. And then we wrap up the show at 11:30 with the sharing space. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good morning, Clement, and the listeners. This is Madlanga here. I think on John Steenhuisen leaving his post in the DA, for me, I think it is too cheap to say because he's been so scandalous over, using the credit card for Uber Eats. I mean, in the context of South African politics, there are leaders who have done far worse. I mean, we've got the current president that has been found with so much unexplained foreign currency. I mean, that's really, for me, the order of the day. We've got other leaders that are in court for brandishing guns in public and all sorts. So I think I would judge the man on his failure to rein in the foot and mouth disease in the agriculture sector. And I think if he's not leaving that post, that's going to be a problem. He might leave the DA leadership, but if he's not leaving his ministerial post, I think that's where the big concern for me is, because there he has failed. Not this Uber Eats and petty stuff that infighting that's there in all these parties. Thank you.
But how do we determine that he has failed as an agriculture minister? I'm interested in that. Obviously, so here's where it gets muddy. There are people who clearly were supporting Dion George, who were leaking information against John Steenhuisen. There are people who clearly were supporting John Steenhuisen who have been leaking information about Dion George. And I think it's possible that some of the allegations against Dion George are really just baseless, and they came up with them just so they can tarnish his name. Equally so with John Steenhuisen. there may be some allegations against him that are baseless, but they just wanted to taint him in a bad light. But how do we stand and say, okay, he has failed as an agricultural minister? What are you looking at? What are the metrics? Because if you are saying that that is dependent on how farmers are unsatisfied with how he has handled the foot and mouth disease outbreak, then say so. If that is one element you're using to judge him as an agriculture minister, I definitely don't think that's sufficient to say whether someone has failed or not in their leadership or ministerial position, just because someone or some community or constituency has been satisfied with how they've responded to a specific issue. That's just my view. What do you think? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. Lubabalo, you're calling from Kuguleti. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Clement. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. What are your thoughts?
Yes, my thought is this regarding the DA leadership. I think Gordon Hill Lewis is going to come in as a leader. He was the apprentice to Helen Zille, and he's got a huge following. People really like him, both black and white, especially here in Cape Town. So he's done very well. However, he's concerned with, I have concerns with the DA administration, in Cape Town, particularly with the building of the wall and how they are pricing out Cape Townians, from the northern suburbs, including especially the southern suburbs. But I do think that Gordon Hill Lewis is going to take it, and they're going to use his experience on running Cape Town on the upcoming election. They're going to use his age. He's just entered his early 40s. They're going to use that as a campaign, and I think it's going to be successful.
Who's just entered his 40s?
Gordon Hill Lewis is going into his 40s.
Really? Isn't he in his late 30s?
Yeah, but since I'm saying that when he does come in, eventually he will be in his early 40s. So
he's actually 39. You're right. He's 39 now.
Yeah. So they're going to use that age difference. So whoever, for example, the ANC, definitely ANC is going to put someone there who's deep in his 60s. Deep in their 60s, whether it's a he or a she. So they're going to use that a young, fresh, vibrant young man to lead, and then I think they're going to do very well in the upcoming election if indeed Gordon Hill Lewis is the new leader.
Okay, all right. Let's wait and see. Lubabalo in Koguletu, thank you for your thoughts. Yeah, Jordan Hill Lewis is one person who has been mentioned many times. I mean, he indicated, in fact, I think he hosted, there was a media engagement on Monday evening, and he was asked about, because this is a question that he's been asked many times, like, are you interested in a position within the leadership of the DA at the April elective conference? And he was very clear to say, look, talk to me on Wednesday. But that is someone who, for some time now, has been mentioned by several people within the DA as a possible successor for John Steenhuisen. More of your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Hi, Clement Sole here. I have a question. Given that the whole Madlanga Commission and the Auto Committee processes are investigating the penetration of criminal networks within the criminal justice system, the SAPs, with the Hawks aspects of the justice system. When the commission, Madlanga Commission, asks for investigations to be made, whom are they asking? Are they asking the same people they are investigating to investigate crimes? I mean, how does this work? Please explain this, man. I'm really confused.
But then we have a police service in this country. So the fact that there are rotten apples within our police service, within the Hawks or any other law enforcement agencies doesn't mean those institutions cease to exist. They still exist. And I'm one of those who doesn't believe that all of our law enforcement officers are compromised, unless there's evidence that can suggest that, where an analysis is made, everybody has been investigated. That's absolutely impractical. So I think it would also be reckless of us to think every single law enforcement agency a law enforcement member is compromised. In fact, Solly, the question you're asking, I actually asked it to Abel, if you can find me that clip of Firoz Kachalia. When I spoke to him last week, I asked him a question. And the question was, how do we know who's good or who's bad, who's going to be part of this team? Because remember, the president said, establish a task team of sort, a special task team that's going to run these investigations against these referrals, these people who have been referred for investigation by the Madlanga Commission. So, and I asked Firoz Kachalia, how do you know who's good, who's bad, right? As the National Commissioner establishes this commission, and I asked that question because of what Dumisani Kumalo, the head of crime intelligence, has said before, that almost all the officers here in Gauteng are compromised and work with criminal cartels. So how do you even know? So what if the people you are bringing in to investigate, say, Shibiri, the head of organized crime in Gauteng, are people who report to him or are people who work with him, in these alleged underground criminal structures? What if that is the case? That is going to compromise the work of the special task team. But then again, how do you know? And I think that's the tricky part. Who is good? Who is a bad cop? Who is a good cop? Who should be part of this task team and who shouldn't, because they will likely compromise it. And that's where I think it's going to get tricky. But the Madlanga Commission, or any other commission for that matter, if there are investigations, those must be done by a body that is constitutionally obligated to carry out investigations, whether it's got rotten apples or not. And in this case, it's going to be a multidisciplinary team. There'll be people from the SAPS. There are some people that will come from the Hawks. That's what the police minister had said to me the last time I spoke to him.
Good morning, Madimeja. I think most of the DA leaders and supporters, they are concerned of his close proximity to President Ramaphosa and the ANC. So they think he's sucking up to the ANC. So therefore, I think that's why they want him out. Thanks, Jablisile from Midrand. Thanks, Clemi. Bye.
But then again, remember Mendy Winner? Mendy Winner wrote a book, The Deal, about the negotiations that were taking part behind the scenes ahead of the GNU and the negotiations around the GNU and cabinet, etc., etc. And one of the things the president told Mendy, because as part of that book, Mendy interviewed the president told Mendy that basically that he was quite disappointed with the relationship he has with John Steenhuisen. He doesn't seem to trust John Steenhuisen. He doesn't seem to even enjoy a functional relationship with John. In fact, he compared John with Rolf Meyer. He compared John with Rolf Meyer, the former minister, and how things were done differently at the time when we were about to transition into a democracy. Even when you've got two leaders who are coming from different parties, they have to find a way to forge a relationship of sorts, because they have to think about the interest of this country and not the interest of their parties. And he seemed to say he wishes him and John had a relationship that the leader of the ANC then had with Rolf Meyer. Yeah? It's 9:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. More of your WhatsApps and calls after this. Mbali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. DA leader John Steenhuisen is preparing to make an announcement this morning, with speculation rife that he is set to bow out of the party's leadership race. It comes with the DA's next federal elective congress just 2 months away. At the end of this month, the party is expected to officially open nominations for those planning to run for the party leader position. The High Court in Pietermaritzburg is expected to hand down a crucial judgment in the long-running arms deal corruption case. Former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales filed an application for leave to appeal the court's earlier decision to dismiss their bid to have charges against them drop. They face fraud, racketeering and money laundering charges related to the controversial 1999 arms deal. And an investigation has been launched into the circumstances surrounding a shooting which left 6 people dead near Meyerton in the south of Joburg. Police say several others were wounded in last night's violence. Gauteng Deputy Police Commissioner Fred Kekana confirmed that those who died during the shooting were all Lesotho nationals. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
The EWN Traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Amo?
Well, Clement, heading towards Sandton, we've got an accident reported on Rivonia Road. This one is right near South Road. It's causing delays. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South between Grayston Drive and Corlett Drive. While traveling in Sunny Hill, please be on the lookout for some issues being reported on the N1 North between Rivonia Road and the Baklu interchange. If you are traveling towards the city of Tshwane, please try to avoid the roadworks that are taking place along the R21 North. They are causing delays. Maybe try to use alternative routes like the N1 North instead through Midrand. And if you are heading towards Amalgam, delays on the M2 West between the Crown Turn Off and Main Reef Road. I'll have more traffic updates. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's Carl de Koza here in another Carl de Koza production starring Carl de Koza and Cars.Koza. In this country, we don't just drive cars, we love cars. So slide into our DMs on WhatsApp and let's find what moves you.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
How much money are you going to be offering schools per learner now, well, in April, compared to what they're receiving right now?
They receive just about 1.5 per learner, and your quintal 4 about just over 700. When we check on our allocation, we are over 440,000 million less in our budget that we are receiving.
Just to confirm the number, is it 440 million rand less that has been allocated to your department?
Yes.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
South Africa's musical theatre classic Marabi returns on the stage of the Market Theatre with an exceptional cast, launching the theatre's 50th anniversary year. This much-loved play with live music is directed by original cast member Arthur Molepo. Set in the tough Dorenfontein yards of the 1930s, Marabi follows a family chasing hope in Johannesburg, bound by love, loss, and unforgettable music. Marabi runs from the 29th of January to the 15th of February. Visit markettheatre.co.za for tickets.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your calls on 011-8830-702. WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. What do you make of this highly anticipated announcement by John Steenhuisen? He's going to be in Durban, his hometown, and he says he's going to be making an important announcement. Some people within the DA have now leaked the story that he is going to announce that he won't be running for the position of DA leader come April when the party goes to an elective conference. And the question now is, what happens to that federal legal council's investigation against him for bringing the party into disrepute for how he handled that tit for tat with Dion George? And also, who does this pave the way for? Jordan Hill-Lewis seems to be a favorite, but are there other people you're thinking of whom you think could be strong contenders for the position of DA leader if indeed John Steenhuisen announces that he won't be running for re-election?
Morning, Clement. I like it the way it's been discussed in the DA. It's so consecutive. It's so nice that he might move out. John Steenhuisen might make an announcement. Somebody else might come in. I think so and so must come in. But if it's another party, we are being told that that party is dying. in another party who are told that it's dying. If the EFF can do that, they'll be saying the EFF is dying. Is there a future for EFF? Wow.
But that's what any other political party does, right? If it was the EFF also dealing with these issues, the DA would say that. If it was the DA, the EFF or the ANC would also say that. So that's just the nature of these politicians. On the WhatsApp line, Mel says, Clement, as a DA supporter, I support Steenhuisen from exiting the leadership race. There's no place in a political party for a leader that has the potential to be corrupted. In addition, he has brought the DA into disrepute with that credit card. It is the correct thing to do, unlike ANC, who protects corruption at all costs. I mean, if you're saying the ANC protects corruption at all costs, and you're saying that this issue of Steenhuisen and the credit card is something that was problematic to you, and the DA wouldn't support that and promote that behavior, why then hasn't the DA taken action against him? If you so believe that he is so guilty and the DA is this righteous organization that doesn't get involved in protecting people from corruption, as you say, then why has he been cleared on the issue of a credit card? Because he was. In fact, what he's being investigated for is for bringing the party into disrepute, that tit for tat with Dion George, and not so much the issue of the credit card. So I think that is quite telling if you want to compare these political parties and want to assume that others protect their leaders and others don't. I think this is really, really quite telling in responding to the approach that you've taken. Here's that clip I told you about earlier on of the police minister, Firoz Kachalia, when I was asking about who's good, who's bad. Like, yes, there's this team you're going to assemble to investigate some of these law enforcement officers, but how do you know the people who will be investigating are not compromised themselves? So, Minister, there's so much rot, from what we've heard so far through the ad hoc committee, the Madlanga Commission, quite a lot of rot in the SAPS. As much has been revealed, there are clearly other officers we may not know about who are equally compromised. So how do we even know that the officers chosen to be part of this task team are the good ones? The head of crime intelligence claimed in Parliament that almost all SAPS members in the province are compromised. He made this conclusion after an analysis he said was made, and he found that some of them actually work with criminal cartels. Are you aware of the analysis as the leadership of the police? And also, how do you know which ones are good, which ones are bad?
So I did hear General Khumalo make that observation in his testimony before the commission. I was a bit concerned about that statement because he was either not able to provide the evidence for quite a far-reaching statement, or felt that it was not the appropriate forum for him to do so. But the statement, nevertheless, is very concerning. Now, look, it's very clear from the evidence that has been led thus far that there are serious problems of misconduct and even criminal capture of parts of the criminal justice system. The question is what we're going to do about it. There are actions that have to be taken against individuals where there is a sufficient evidentiary basis, and there will also be, coming out of the commission, and I hope from the ad hoc committee as well, some recommendations of systemic reform. I am not simply waiting for the outcome of these inquiries, because it's very clear to me, for instance, that procurement needs reform. Disciplinary processes within the South African Police Service also need more rigor and strengthening.
Yeah. So that's what he said to me last week. As you hear towards the end there, he speaks about the reforms that are necessary. Back to your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Under John, the DA has been losing votes during by-elections. Even here in Soweto, it doesn't exist anymore. They recently lost 2 wards, I think, to the PA now in Western Cape, something like that. So the PA has been on John's toes, heels, meant to say. And I mean, what were we expecting? What were the DA voters expecting when they voted somebody without matric or who's busy rewriting matric as a minister? Guys, come on. We as South Africans must sometimes look at ourselves and blame ourselves. Whoever that voted for the DA, that today a person without matric is a minister, must reflect on that voter. Also from the lady.
Morning, family. I just want to comment with the issue of John Steenhuisen. I think John might be retiring from his position in the DA, but I do not foresee him retiring as a minister. And also, I think there might be a bigger cloud on it rather than just the little things that we've been seeing, that we're being told that he's being investigated for Uber Eats. I think there's something big that is happening there in the DA. And well, we know the DA is very good in orchestrating things. Same thing happened to Tony Leon and his financial advisor, who was the lady, if I can remember very well, he was also implicated in a big fraudulent case, but then they managed to handle it very well and say Tony Leon is retiring from politics. So I think the DA might be playing it clean.
Look, political parties always have their ways. In the ANC, they have recalled 2 of their presidents, Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, and how did that recall begin? They also started leaking information. Like, in fact, they first asked them, we want you to step down as leader, as a deployee of the African National Congress. And if they don't want to leave, and then they start leaking information that there are some senior, NEC members who have called for these leaders to step down, and there's a lot of support. And then they start threatening that we're going to go to parliament. Remember with Zuma, it almost got to that point, that we're going to go to parliament and you're going to be impeached. And there are more consequences for you, even financially, as a president, if you get impeached. So even with John Steenhuisen, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a reason why the story got leaked in the way it did yesterday. There's a reason why there's been so many people trying to taint his image, and also people who support him trying to taint the image of Dion George. And that's because there is an agenda to push him out. But when you tell the leader to leave, you must also give them something. Like if you're saying, don't run again for leader of the organization because we need a new face. We're going to elections. We feel like we need someone else. We need to inject new blood. Then you've got to give me something. At least promise me that I'm not going to be fired from my post as a minister. Or maybe you make other negotiations. But that's what normally happens. And then they play the media game of he's going to resign, and then the other one just denies it and says, that's not really the truth. I'm not doing that. But that's part of the negotiations. And I think we've seen this movie before. So we wait and see in 15 minutes' time what John Steenhuisen exactly will be announcing. Whatever he announces, though, there is some crazy division within the Democratic Alliance. There are definitely people who want to see his back. And if he takes the risk of going to this elective conference with that risk and that group of people who want him out, that could come back to haunt him. So what does a good leader do? You leave before you get pushed. Otherwise, if you wait up until it's too late, then you've lost the battle. You've completely lost the narrative.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites.
Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on primemedia+.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 7:02. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the primemedia+.com and Prime Media Plus app.
They've survived the heat, the pressure, and the eliminations. Now it's down to the semi-final showdown on Celebrity MasterChef. Seth Shezi, Holly Ray, Mzuki Simbani, and Dino Ranaka cook with the finale in sight. No second chances, no safety nets, because this is where champions are decided and legacies are made. Miss this and you miss the turning point. Catch Celebrity MasterChef this Sunday at 6 p.m. only on ATV.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad. And sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without MyWay's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. MyWay. Live your way.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
All right, it's 12 minutes now before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your thoughts on 011-883-0702. If you want to comment on this highly anticipated media briefing by John Steenhuisen expected at 10 o'clock, or you can send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Tsepo says, Clement, if all police members were corrupt, then we would not have police arresting police as it happened in the past. Another one says, good morning, Clement, to you and your team and the listeners. Where there's smoke, there's fire. John is just a curtain raiser. Helen and Tony are the driving force behind on leadership decisions, GNU partnership, factions, and lies by Donald Trump. John's fight in public with Dion George was his last dying kick, and a decision by the two driving force to step down from leadership race. Madala in Mohlakeng. I have to tell you that there is someone, I won't mention their name, but there's somebody who is senior in the Democratic Alliance, in fact, who is a minister from the DA, who has been listening to me this morning, and they absolutely disagree with me. They think that I am overestimating the importance of Tony Leon. So I just want to bring that view to you, that someone who is very senior in the DA, who is a minister of the DA in President Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet, just send me a WhatsApp and said, I actually disagree with you. I think you are overstating the importance of Tony Leon. But I really think that Tony Leon is important for the Democratic Alliance. And I gave this person the same reasons. One, if Tony wasn't influential, why was he brought in to review the party's performance in elections when Mmusi Maimane was leader of the DA, which led to Mmusi Maimane resigning because there was a review of the leadership of the Democratic Alliance, but there was also a review of the electoral performance of the DA. Tony Leon was one of the people who authored that report. Again, if Tony Leon was not so influential, why did the Democratic Alliance go to him and say, come help us as we negotiate the GNU? The point I'm trying to make is there are important moments within the Democratic Alliance where the shadow of Tony Leon has appeared in some way or the other. And this, if really John Steenhuisen announces that he's not going to run, that is an important turning point moment for the Democratic Alliance. Why would he somehow not know or have an idea or have his own thoughts about the direction the Democratic Alliance should be taking? And I think when he said, well, John has been through so many controversies, this is expected, I think that was very clear to me, at least. Given what I know about this man, it was clear to me that maybe he is onto something here. Maybe actually that's what they've been trying to get John Steenhuisen to do. They've been trying to tell him, yo, please step aside. If you remember, 2 weeks ago, it was Tony Leon who wrote an opinion piece. Was it on News 24? And I even asked Helen Zille about it when we had Helen Zille 2 weeks ago on the show. Because Tony Leon made a point that given that this is the local government elections, they're coming up later this year. This battle between John and Dion George is a distraction in what should be a watershed election year for the party. So he was very clear that this tit for tat between John and Dion could have an impact on the organization. So already he's been talking about it. And I think I would be naive, certainly, for thinking that Tony Leon has only just been playing far. History doesn't tell me that.
Clement, you know what? Morning, Clement. You know what? As far as I can look at things, this thing is a strategy. This thing of John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen is going to join Ramaphosa. He is going to ANC. Watch the space. He is going to do a floor crossing because he likes this position of being a minister. He likes to be in government. Now, because of DA, they are tired of him. They want to get rid of him and put a new person. Because this fight, it has been started for some time. Now, what is happening? This man is going to do a floor crossing. Watch the space, you will see. Mark my word, Chief. Thank you.
I don't know. That is, the wildest thing I've heard today. But then who knows? Hey? I mean, remember when Tsidi was the first one, I think, to say publicly. I remember when, what's his name? When Floyd Shivambu left the EFF and Tsidi said, he's going to the MK party. And I remember thinking, there is no way. I wasn't here at work. I was on holiday at the time. And I was like, that is impossible. There's no way Floyd is going to go to the MK party. What happened? He did. So the point I'm trying to make is, really, guys, anything is possible, but that is still wild. Like, I don't see how John is going to reconcile his politics if he decides to move to the ANC. Or do you agree with this listener that that is a possibility?
Good morning, Clement, and all the listeners of 7. So, I'm Kelvin from Lodge and Glenridge. I don't have a comment for the guy. I'm just speechless. I wish Lindiwe Masbu was still in the DA. You are the one who must take that place. But anyway, I was loved Lindiwe Masbu, but must be the one who take that place. Thank you.
Good morning, Clement. For me, it doesn't really matter who leads the DA. It's a right-wing political party that's opposed to transformation. It opposes BEE, it opposes expropriation of land. But the message that I have is to black people who keep on voting for this party. They need to wake up and realize that this party always demand meritocracy where black people are concerned, but there's no shame elevating a Steenhuisen with a matric certificate to the top echelons of the party. People like Musi Maimani, Dr. Mpopaladzi, and the rest who were elevated would not have been considered had they not come armed with their master's degrees and PhDs. So that's the DA for you.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, in politics, my brother, never trust anybody. Never trust. Why am I also thinking that John is gonna cross over to the ANC? It's my thought exactly. I mean, the brother is like reading my thoughts. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but something just says to me that he might go to the ANC. Watch this space.
Hey, yo. Yeah. I'm tempted to even say I'm willing to bet on that. Yeah. I don't bet easily, but I may be willing to bet on that. I don't see that happening. But you're right. Then again, anything is truly possible. I just think it would be a terrible political move. A terrible political move. At this point, I mean, what is so attractive right now and I'm talking about as a politician now, what is so attractive right now about the African National Congress for you to want to join it? Right now, what is so attractive about it? I don't see it happening. But also remember, if John doesn't run for re-election in April, that doesn't mean he stops being the minister. I mean, he can still be, member of the federal executive and then just continue being a minister. And that's probably going to be part of the deal that he is negotiating or he has negotiated, especially if Jordan Hill-Lewis is the one that's going to be elected leader of the Democratic Alliance. Because remember, it's the discretion of the leader, what positions they allocate in cabinet and who they tell President Cyril Ramaphosa to appoint or to fire. It's the leader's prerogative. So if Jordan Hill-Lewis, who is very close, who's very good friends with John Steenhuisen, if he comes in, why should John Steenhuisen be scared? That's his friend. That's someone who also respects him professionally. I don't see Jordan Hill-Lewis just like removing Steenhuisen like that. These are people who have been very close as comrades. And that's why Jordan Hill-Lewis has said before, if Steenhuisen runs for this position, I am not going to enter that race.
Clement, our police officers, most of them are corrupt. Most of them are corrupt, Clement. And it's only few that are being compromised by this corrupt one. These few are not corrupt, but are being compromised by the corrupt one. Did you hear the evidence of that witness yesterday? A civilian calling police officer to find buyers for guns. To find buyers for guns. No. We are in deep trouble. We are in a big trouble. I don't think we're going to win this war with these criminals. As long as we have this kind of police officers in the police force, we're not going to win this thing. Never. Most of them, Clement, are corrupt. They are very, very corrupt. Have a great one.
Yeah, Mwaku, it's quite scary, I tell you. All right, we're going to get the news now at 10 o'clock, and when we come out, hopefully John Steenhuisen would have been set and prepared and ready to deliver his speech. We're going to take it live, so after the news, we'll take you live to Johannesburg to hear what John Steenhuisen is going to be announcing. It's 10 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. DA leader John Steenhuisen is preparing to make an announcement at this hour, with speculation rife that he is set to bow out of the party's leadership race. It comes with the DA's next National Elective Congress just 2 months away. At the end of this month, the party is expected to officially open nominations for those planning to run for the party's leadership position. While insiders claim Steenhuisen may be bowing out, he is expected to make this announcement at this hour that will likely impact his political future. Alfara Mshwana takes a look.
It was in 2019 that John Steenhuisen rose through the ranks of the DA after being appointed interim leader following Musi Maimani's acrimonious resignation. A year later, Steenhuisen was officially elected by the party's Federal Congress to serve as its leader, winning against former MP Mbali Ntuli with a commanding 80% lead. The party's 2023 Federal Congress saw Steenhuisen repeat that feat, thrashing former Johannesburg Mayor Mpho Phalatse. While sources now claim the DA leader will no longer run for a third term, they anticipate that Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis and Steenhuisen's ally will likely step up to the plate. Political analyst Dirk Coetzee says Steenhuisen's legacy will be the leader who led the party from the opposition into government.
And the role of John Steenhuisen was to try to stabilize it which to a large extent I think they did.
He suspects Steenhuisen's leadership ambitions may have been eclipsed by former leader Helen Zille's active involvement in the party. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Durban.
The High Court in Pietermaritzburg is expected to hand down a crucial judgment in the long-running arms deal corruption case. Former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales filed an application for leave to appeal the court's earlier decision to dismiss their bid to have charges against them dropped. They face fraud, racketeering and money laundering charges related to the controversial 1999 arms deal. The case has faced major delays over the years, with the defendants insisting there is no case against them. The state wants the court to order that the trial proceed despite pending or future interlocutory applications. Let's stay in the courts. The sister of the alleged mastermind behind the Parapara burglary, Emanuela David, has emerged as one of the key players who may have assisted him in laundering the stolen US dollars. David is charged alongside siblings Froliana and Dilanasha Joseph for breaking and entering into the president's farm and allegedly stealing $580,000 US dollars in cash. Yesterday, two state witnesses implicated David's sister during their testimonies at the trial, which is being heard in the Mudimule Regional Court in Limpopo. Tabiso Koba was there.
A financial crimes detective from the Hawks says in 2019, Emanuela David's sister opened a bank account. During that year, only 4,000 rand was deposited into the account. However, in the following year, the detective says the account received over 1.3 million rand in deposits. This was the same year the Parapara burglary took place.
88 ATM cash deposit amounting to 809,120 rand and 10 branch deposit amounting to 573,738 rand.
A conveyancer who testified yesterday confirmed she brokered the buying and selling of a Rustenburg property to David's sister. The trial continues on the 13th of February. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
An investigation has been launched into the circumstances surrounding a shooting which left 6 people dead near Meyerton in the south of Joburg. Police say several others were injured in the attack last night. Gauteng Deputy Police Commissioner Fred Kekana confirmed that those who died during that shooting were all Lesotho nationals. Kekana says the deceased were travelling in a bus from Joburg headed to Lesotho when they were intercepted by a car whose occupants started shooting at them. He says 3 suspects have been arrested following that incident.
When we checked the juke now, this vehicle which they were driving in, we found out this vehicle was robbed or stolen in Witbank during September 2025.
And in Brazil, an investigation is underway to determine the cause of a bus accident which left 16 people dead. The bus was returning from a religious festival when it veered off the road on a curve and overturned. It was carrying about 60 people when it tipped over in the rural interior of Alagoas State. The survivors, including a seriously injured child, were taken to local hospitals where they remain under medical care. Deadly road accidents are frequent in Brazil. Just last year, 17 people in the state of Pernambuco died when a driver lost control of their bus. Gold is trading at $5,065.38 an ounce. The rand is at 15.93 to the dollar, 21.84 to the pound, 18.88 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.34 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays in Edenville along the R24 West. This is between Edenville Road and the N12 merge. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South towards the Harton Drive exit. Please be on the lookout there coming out of the Killarney Bends.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 27 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. DA leader John Steenhuisen will be making an announcement at this hour with speculation rife that he is set to bow out of the party's leadership race.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. I don't want to waste any more time, so let's go straight live to Durban, where the DA leader John Steenhuisen has started speaking. You haven't lost much. He's been thanking so far his family. He's there with his family. He's there with his quote-unquote good friends who have been with him since the beginning of his political career. And yeah, let's hear what he's announcing this morning.
Strong enough to now bend the arc of history away from a South Africa marked by joblessness, decline, and despair, and into a new direction towards economic growth, rising prosperity, and renewed hope in the future. Very few people, including I might add some people in this room, believed we would ever get there. Far too many people were comfortable with the DA being in a perpetual opposition, smirking, pointing fingers, while South Africa was on the decline. And yet, once we got the DA back on track following my election as federal leader in 2019, we set out to achieve exactly this in the 2024 general election, to enter national government for the first time in our party's history. In April 2023, following my re-election as federal leader of the Democratic Alliance, with the decisive mandate of 83%, the largest winning margin of any leader in the history of the party, I announced that the DA was ready to now take the moonshot. That we were going to shed our image as a party that only shouted at other people from the sidelines and instead mature into a party that gets stuck in to fix this country that we all love so much. In an address that reshaped the DA's approach to coalition government, that would then go on to reshape South Africa a little over a year later, I announced that my party would move towards a more collaborative form of politics. A sort of politics that sought to unite those who want to build up the country while isolating those who want to break it. At the time, I also warned that if the DA was unable to mature and rise to the demands of a coalition country, it would be responsible for selling South Africa out to the populist doomsday coalition. A little over a year later, on the 3rd of July 2024, the DA achieved our moonshot. After the ANC lost its majority for the first time since 1994, and after the emergence of Jacob Zuma's MK party made our mission even more urgent, the DA successfully negotiated the formation of the Government of National Unity with President Cyril Ramaphosa. And I'm very proud that the President and I were able to work collaboratively to put this government together. DA members were sworn in as ministers, deputy ministers, deputy speaker, chairpersons and portfolio committee chairs in the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, as well as MECs and deputy speaker in KwaZulu-Natal, in addition to retaining outright control of the Western Cape. This outcome, which included the Democratic Alliance's ascension to national power, constitutes the single greatest achievement in the history of our party. Yeah. Against all the odds, a party that's once languished at 1.7% of the national vote, and I'm glad Bill Lambert's here because he will remember those days, that was a party that was then subsequently seen as a desolate shack, it was described in the political landscape, and then subsequently seen as little more than a regional party, and then a party regarded as too arrogant and oppositional to play any national role, now carried the hopes and the dreams of our 3.5 million voters into national government for the first time ever. That we were able to get back to growth after the previous leader walked off the job. That we had the strategic foresight to reposition the party in anticipation of the coalition era. That we were able to negotiate our way into becoming a leading partner in South Africa's first ever democratically elected national multi-party government. And that we have since leveraged our influence in government to set South Africa determinedly on a fundamentally better path. This is an achievement that will go down in history. In the long story of the DA and its predecessors, dating back to at least 1959, there is only one leadership era that will ever be remembered for marshalling our party across the Rubicon and international government. Only one, and it is this one. A little over a year and a half later, the people of South Africa are beginning to experience the full impact of this breakthrough. The GNU has more than doubled economic growth in its first calendar year in office. The DA made a major contribution to this through our victory against a proposed VAT increase last year in favour of deeper and faster economic reform. South Africa recently got its first credit upgrade in 20 years, and we have finally been removed from the Financial Action Task Force's grey list. Growth projections are improving across the board, and unemployment has started to tick down. Now, of course, we have much more to do, but there is no doubt that South Africa's economy is now on the up after more than a decade of rapid decline. For the first time in many years, life is getting better for the people of South Africa, thanks to the work of the Democratic Alliance at municipal, provincial, and crucially, national level. Through the GNU, we have opened major agricultural export markets in the last 18 months. And we are working scientifically and with determination to end the worst foot-and-mouth outbreak in our country's history. Systemic reform is underway at Home Affairs, where a department that was once synonymous with failure is rapidly becoming a world leader in efficiency and secure digital service delivery. Basic education is reforming our school curriculum, while the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies is unlocking an equity equivalent investment to massively expand digital inclusion. Public works and infrastructure, a construction boom across our economy.
Oh, there seems to be an issue there with that recording. Let's try once again.
Forestry, fisheries and the environment is now working to unlock sustainable economic growth for rural and fishing communities while rebuilding the Kruger National Park following the devastating floods. However you slice and dice it, and however you look at it, South Africa today is a profoundly better country than it was on the eve of the 2024 elections. Now, a major part of the reason is because I delivered on my pledge to turn our party into a party of national government, which enabled the talented colleagues who lead these cabinet portfolios and provincial portfolios to demonstrate that the DA truly delivers for all. In fact, one of the things that I'm probably most proud of is this pool of talent that I've actively nurtured in the DA. Whether it's Siviwe Grahube, Ashel Sarupan, Leon Schreiber, Dean McPherson, Solly Malatsi, Mimi Gondwe, or Selo Setlolo as ministers and deputy ministers, or Jordan Hill-Lewis and Celias Brink and Chris Pappas as mayors of major metropolitan and town areas. These talented young leaders and many others like them became household names because during my tenure we actively worked to empower them at every turn. They say the mark of a true leader is not what the leader does, but the people that he puts around him. And I'm very proud of the people in this room and across the party who I've invested in and who are now stepping up and leading wherever they are. A leader's job is to identify talent in people and then to foster that talent wherever it can be found. Because as these young leaders continue to shine in the DA for many, many years to come, it will always reflect on the leader who first believed in them. I'm also particularly proud of how the DA is increasingly seen as a political home for all the people of South Africa. At the start of my leadership, many commentators underestimated my commitment to ensuring that the party broadens its appeal beyond its traditional base. But the moonshot that catapulted the DA into the GNU was predicated on my commitment to reshape this party into one that transcends the boundaries of race, ethnicity, and class to serve the people of our beautiful country. And when I say serve the people, I say serve all the people. I believe the key reason why the DA is now polling at historically high levels and winning by-elections in areas where it traditionally struggled and winning by-elections across the country, as last night's victories in the Western Cape, where we took 2 wards off the ANC, showed us. And I believe this is because the party's work in the GNU has proven that we care for all South Africans, no matter their background or their circumstances. Whether it's empowering emerging farmers and fishers, issuing smart IDs to people in villages and rural areas, or delivering better education in township schools, no one can now deny that the DA is delivering for all. I also feel it's important to remind my fellow Democrats that the progress we have experienced in 2019 did not happen automatically or by osmosis. Although the decisions like the formation of the Moonshot Pact and entering the GNU were proven correct, we must not gloss over the fact that some people opposed these bold moves at the time that I pushed for them. I say this as a reminder to all of us that the threat of the populist doomsday coalition has not disappeared. The prospect of them ultimately entering government has not disappeared. Just look what happened in this province in December last year, when the MK party came within a single vote of toppling the government of provincial unity. In the wake of losing that motion of no confidence that they had instituted against the GPU, they resorted to violence. They inflicted destruction in the chamber of the legislature, including in assaulting the speaker. Make no mistake about it. The scenes that we saw on that day is what awaits all of South Africa if we ever allow the MK-EFF doomsday coalition into power. As the DA, but also other GNU partners, hold internal elections over the coming months, it's paramount that we all continue to put South Africa ahead of factional and personal agendas. It would be a tragedy too great to contemplate for internal party maneuvering to plunge the GNU and our country into chaos. We have come too far, and we still have too far to go to allow anybody to derail the progress that we are making. My fellow South Africans and my friends, when I stood at the top of those steps at the Union Buildings a few weeks ago, I was reminded of another set of steps that I ascended for the first time 27 years ago. And they were the steps to the Durban City Council, where I was elected as the youngest ever councillor in 1999. If someone had told that bright-eyed and bushy-tailed young man that he would, just over 2 decades later, be the person to lead the DA international government, he probably wouldn't have believed you. And as I stood there looking out over South Africa's capital city, I realized it's mission accomplished for me. I have delivered on everything that I promised my party when I was first elected as federal leader back in 2019. I proudly picked up this party's banner when its internal polling was down to just 16%, and after the media declared the death of the DA. Built on a simple message that I believe that there was nothing wrong with the DA that couldn't be fixed by everything that is right with the DA. I worked hard with others who love our party to not only resurrect the party's fortunes, but we've also carried it to new heights. Previous chapters of our party's history were marked by the party becoming the official opposition and entering provincial government in the Western Cape. My term will be remembered for leading the DA into national government and putting South Africa on a new path to prosperity. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not the end of the road for the DA, and it's certainly not the end of the road for me. The way I see it is that there's an important next mission that beckons for our party, and that is to build upon my legacy and the DA's success in the GNU in order to turn our party into the biggest party in South Africa so that we can lead future coalition governments at local, provincial, and national level. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is a mission for the next DA leader. Because I now have another mission, and it is urgent. For the rest of this term of office, I will focus all of my time and energy as Minister of Agriculture on defeating the most devastating foot and mouth disease outbreak our country has ever seen, and to pursue the mass vaccination to ensure that this is the last mass outbreak of FMD that our country ever sees. After leading the DA into the GNU, my next chapter must be to eradicate this devastating disease from our shores once and for all. And that, I'm afraid to say, is not a part-time job. It would simply not be fair to the incredible farmers of South Africa for me to split my time between battling the worst FMD outbreak ever on the one hand, while also running around the country on an internal election campaign for the next 3 months, and then leading a local government election campaign on the other hand. So, to my colleagues and friends in the DA, it has been the honor of a lifetime to lead our party to the top of the Union Building steps. And I want to thank every staff member, every activist, and every public representative. For 3 elective congresses now, I've placed my trust in you and you in me. And we've done some great things together. I told you that we would land our moonshot and keep out the Doomsday Coalition. And today, I simply say, mission accomplished. From right here in Durban, not very far from where I first climbed those steps to the council chambers 27 years ago, I today announced that I will not seek re-election for a 3rd term as the DA federal leader at the party's upcoming federal congress. And I do so with a full heart, knowing that I've accomplished my DA moonshot mission and that my work in government now requires me to similarly pour my heart and soul and all of my energies into defeating foot and mouth disease. I also do so in the knowledge that I, in April, will hand over the reins to a fundamentally healthier party than the one that I inherited. Instead of 16%, the DA is now consistently polling at 30% and is within striking distance of becoming the biggest political party in South Africa. The next duly elected DA leader can rely on my full support and will be given the space to lead the party as they see fit. For the true test of whether you love a thing is the ability to let it go when the time is right. I have loved leading the DA, which is why today I let it go with a smile on my face and triumphant peace in my heart. The DA that I inherited was reading its own obituary in a country that was in rapid decline. The DA I leave behind co-governs a country that is firmly on the up. It's now up to the next generation of leadership to ensure that the DA continues to do so with ever-growing confidence for many, many more years to come, so that we can deliver to the country of our dreams and deliver this country to all of our children. I love my party and I love my country, and I will continue to work every day to ensure the success of both. Thank you very much.
There you have it. The leader of the Democratic Alliance has just hugged and kissed with his wife. He is now getting off the stage. I'm not sure if he's going to be taking questions. I hope he will, because I'd like us to. Is he walking out? He's just walked out. That's very suspicious. That is very suspicious. Let's listen to what the spokesperson or whoever this person, he's also walking off stage. Okay, that is quite suspicious. if John Steenhuisen wasn't hiding anything or didn't want to take any awkward questions, he would have stayed there to allow journalists to ask him questions. He literally just spoke, he kissed and hugged his wife, and he left the building. And the person who invited or welcomed the media to this address also just walked out. So at this stage, it doesn't look like he's going to be taking questions. But I'm interested in what you think after what John Steenhuisen has just announced. He's confirmed that he will not be seeking a third term. He claims that he has delivered on every promise that he promised the Democratic Alliance when he was elected leader. And one of the things that he mentioned so many times there was the fact that he is the leader of the DA who has managed to get the party to the union buildings. So he is the leader that is responsible for getting the DA to enter national government for the first time ever in the party's history. And whether you like him or not, whether you like John Steenhuisen or not, the reality is the DA got into national government when he was the leader. And that's precisely what the DA has wanted for the longest of times. He, though, argues that the reason he's not seeking re-election is because he wants to focus his entire energy on defeating the foot and mouth disease outbreak, because it's not a part-time job. So he can't split his time between election campaigns and dealing with this issue. I'm not sure that I'm convinced by that explanation. I really am not sure I'm convinced by that. I mean, Helen Zille was leader of the DA and she was running an entire city, an entire metro in Cape Town, while she was the leader of the Democratic Alliance. You're running one ministry, and yes, the foot and mouth disease outbreak is quite a big concern for the farming community, but I don't think it's one thing that you are unable to address while also you follow through your responsibilities as leader of the organization. So, as I said on the open line, I am convinced that he has been pushed out. He didn't want to be pushed out. He wanted to jump before he gets pushed out. It's clear that they have told him, do not run for third term. In fact, some people who are close to him, about 2 months or so ago, you may have seen reports, they started leaking the story that, John Steenhuisen is going to run for a third term. He believes that he still has it in him. And then that decision has clearly now has changed. So, John Steenhuisen confirming what has been reported throughout yesterday and this morning. What are your thoughts? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. And who do you think is the right leader, strong enough to lead the DA to its next level? And what is the next level the DA needs to get into? John is claiming that the party is now polling at 30% from about 16%. I mean, we have to check those numbers. I'm not sure if that's completely the case. But the DA has been struggling to register significant electoral growth. So what kind of a leader is needed here? Is Jordan Hill-Lewis the right person to take the party to the next level? How about Siviwe Kwagube? Some people have been talking about her, how impressive she has been as the Minister of Basic Education. Do you think she's got it in her? She's got the right constituency. She's got the right skill set to lead this organization. Your calls and WhatsApps after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Bali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. A very good morning. DA leader John Steenhuisen has announced his decision to bow out of the party's leadership race. The announcement comes just 2 months before the party is set to head to its National Elective Congress. During his announcement in Durban a short while ago, he said his focus will now be on eradicating the foot and mouth disease as he continues as Agriculture Minister. Steenhuisen says through the DA's hard work and role in the government of national unity, South Africa is a better place.
It's mission accomplished for me. I have delivered on everything that I promised my party when I was first elected as federal leader back in 2019. I proudly picked up this party's banner when its internal polling was down to just 16%, and after the media declared the death of the DA. Built on a simple message that I believe that there was nothing wrong with the DA that couldn't be fixed by everything that is right with the DA.
And the board of the Road Accident Fund believes it's raised the morale amongst employees after claims before a parliamentary inquiry that they had been working in a culture of fear for the past 5 years. Under former CEO Colin Slitswalo, interim board chairperson Kenneth Brown says at least 8 staff members who were dismissed will now be brought back into the organisation. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling on the M1 South, we've got some delays approaching Jan Smuts Avenue. This is in the Parktown area due to an accident scene. There's also some delays reported on the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Kilulis interchange. If you're travelling in Kaya Sand, do you expect a bit of a stop and go along Malibongo Drive towards Vertkoppen Road? There's also a slight backup being reported. This is along the city of Tshwane on the N14 North approaching Euphues Road. Please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. We'll have more traffic updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's 2026 and the Haval H7 is here to celebrate the urban adventurer in you. Available in 4x2, 4x4 and a hybrid electric engine for enhanced performance and everyday versatility. The H7 is yours from only $7,699 per month.
Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Don't just like an opinion. Raise your opinion. Access real news and entertainment. Elevate your understanding of tariffs, trends, and tries. Don't fall for misinformation. Stand up for the truth. Step up dinner time and drive time. Know how to lead, parent, and save. Ready to raise your game? Subscribe to News 24. Get unlimited access to our trusted journalism.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
It's 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. We've just listened to a press briefing by the outgoing, that's now what we call it, the outgoing leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen. He has just announced that he will not be seeking re-election at the party's elective conference in April. I want to get your reaction now. As I said on the open line, I think he wanted to jump before he is pushed. Because if you don't listen to the advice coming from, quote unquote, the elders of the Democratic Alliance, you are going to be in trouble. I do think that there are some people who are former leaders of the DA who still have significant influence in the organization. And if they ask you that, hey, don't run, and you still insist you want to run, they will find a way to push you out. And I think John Steenhuisen wanted to run for re-election, and then they started pushing him out. Hence, the leaks that we have seen about his financial vulnerabilities, what he has done with his Uber Eats, and of course, the Federal Legal Counsel's investigation into whether or not he has brought the party into disrepute, because Dion George is now gone, but he is still someone who was involved in that tit-for-tat with Dion George. If the party really wanted to be protective over John Steenhuisen, they would have actually just dropped their investigation, their FLC's investigation into whether he's brought the party into disrepute. But that still continues. Do you think John would have wanted to go and contest for election with that cloud hanging over his head? I don't think so. What do you think? 011-883-0702. Let's start with your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement. Pat here from Spayview. Quote, mission accomplished. Unquoted. I think he doesn't sound like he's been pushed. He's got a lot on his hand to do. So I think I'm convinced that the man has done what he has to do and achieved what he has to achieve. So I am convinced that he's not sounding diplomatic. That is my view.
Yeah, look, you're probably right. I'm just not convinced. And I mean, I was looking at his facial expression. He's not upbeat. He doesn't look excited and upbeat and happy. He doesn't, at least in my view. And how he has behaved also after that press briefing was a bit weird. Like, is it a press briefing or is it just an announcement? Normally, John Steenhuisen takes questions from journalists. Why is he not allowing questions this time around? I think that's quite telling. He literally just left the stage as soon as he made that announcement. So, I don't know. I don't know if he came across to me as someone who's happy, who made this decision himself. I think they've put a significant pressure on him to step out, or else they were going to push him out.
Hi, Clement. I feel that the man has accomplished what he was supposed to do. Let's give him a chance to see where he's going. Sometimes it's not really important to have so many questions before we know what the man is up to. We just have to say all the best to John Steenhuisen. He did what's supposed to do, and his focus is going to be on a certain project, and let's give the man a chance. Thank you.
Paul, Johannesburg. I find it quite ironic that you seek to find additional reasons for walking off the stage. You know, I'm going to equate it to something that us runners can understand. Your heart rate recovery is completely different to somebody else's recovery rate. And your heart rate grows to completely different to somebody else's. So Helen Ziller, in a running term, may have had the ability to recover and run and recover and run all the time. John Steenhuisen, I'm not a supporter of the party, but I'm looking at the person. He wants to do something and concentrate on getting rid of the foot and mouth disease. It's a huge job in itself. Our export quality meat and beef, everything is reliant on that. His heart rate is not recovering as well as Helen Ziller's. Give him an opportunity to do what he said he's going to do. Don't be so skeptical and cynical about his reasons for walking off after an announcement. It doesn't make sense, and it's just typical of journalism looking for another angle when there may very well not be one, and one that just exists as he wants to concentrate on one job at a time. Thanks, Paul, Johannesburg.
Well, Paul, it is thoughtful journalism. It's not lazy. Maybe you want me to have lazy and approach lazy journalism where I look at one tier or one approach to what's happening. I don't operate like that. I'll tell you what I think. It may very well be right or wrong. You, as you've sent us a voice note now, are welcome to tell me what you think. And you may very well be right or wrong. I'll tell you what my observation is. That's what I get paid to do. And I've observed many of these press briefings. I've attended many of them. I look at body language. In fact, when he started speaking, I moved from where I normally do the show to go on the other side because I wanted to see who is he walking with, how is he walking in, who is he going to acknowledge, how is he going to behave after the press briefing, what questions is he going to take. If you actually care about being more thoughtful and not lazy, you focus on things like that because they give you nuance. They help you understand the much bigger picture. I want to bring in Lindsay Dentlinger now for a moment, who's our EWN reporter who always reports for us from Parliament. And then I'm going to come to your calls. Chilizi, Rakwena, I see you. I see your WhatsApp voice notes as well. Lindsay, thank you so much for making time for me. Good morning.
Morning, Clement.
So you have been following politics within the Democratic Alliance for the longest time now. John Steenhuisen now confirming what has been reported throughout, that I'm stepping out. I want to focus on the foot and mouth disease outbreak. Let me first get your thoughts on what he's just announced. And do you believe that this is the reason he's stepping down, because this foot and mouth disease outbreak is big of a crisis that requires his undivided attention?
Clement, it doesn't add up for me. As someone who was in the press briefing here in Parliament about 2.5 or so weeks ago, where he spoke passionately. It was a 2-hour-long press conference about foot and mouth disease. 10 days ago, he met with parliamentary journalists, giving us the strongest indication yet that he was going to throw his hat in the ring for all the reasons that he just put forward in that press conference. And then to rewind a little further, Clement, I was in the DA offices when they were packing up and they were making plans to enter the government of national unity. And on more than one occasion, I put it to John Steenhuisen as to whether he would continue being the parliamentary leader as well as the DA's leader in government and the party leader. And he said to me, but why wouldn't I be? The president runs the country and he runs his party. Those were words he's repeatedly said to me. He's repeatedly made it clear that he is able to juggle multiple roles, both within party and, well, he was to find out how difficult it is to also deal with his mandate in the state. But he's never given an indication that he has to give up one portfolio to be able to do well in the other. So unless he really had an epiphany on the steps of the union buildings that he cannot juggle all these roles that he is expected to fulfill, and I'm not saying that that is not possible. Just the comments he has made in the past about doing those very things just doesn't add up. And if you know him well and you know his demeanor well, and with all the things you've just been pointing out to the listeners, it is very difficult to believe that he hasn't been acting with some other kind of outside pressure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who know John Steenhuisen know what his ambitions are and have always been. And I mean, I've got that in my mind as I also just try and analyze it for myself, what just transpired. I found it interesting that he said, I am now going to focus every minute as a minister to defeat this foot and mouth disease outbreak. It's not a part-time job. I can't split my time and focus on election campaign while dealing with this. And interestingly, I read Mbali Ntuli, who is a former also leader within the Democratic Alliance, posted a piece where she says that she thinks that John is probably going to be redeployed to a different ministry. But I mean, that all depends on who comes in as leader of the DA, doesn't it? Because they have the prerogative to choose ultimately who goes where. So they tell Cyril Ramaphosa, this is the person to fire, this is the person to appoint. And by all indications, Jordan Hill-Lewis seems to be the name that's coming up a lot, even from some of these senior leaders within the Democratic Alliance. And he's friends with John Steenhuisen. So if the path is being created for him, then John has got nothing to worry about.
Well, you are preempting something that was going through my mind as well, because firstly, Mbali Ntuli is who John defeated in the last, in one of those leadership races that he did come out on top. But he also, in the comments that he's making today, wanting us to believe that he is stepping back so that he can focus on foot and mouth disease, he's presuming that the next leader would keep him in that portfolio or keep him in the executive.
Or maybe he's trying to Armstrong the next leader to say, don't you dare, because I've just resigned, telling South Africans that I'm going to focus on this thing. So if you remove me, then that's going to be quite awkward.
Yeah, well, that was my first thought. I mean, in a few months from now, who's to say that you would still be holding that portfolio? And then also, you know, this whole event that has led up, or the sequence of events that have led up to today's announcement, one cannot help but think, would we be where we are or the DA and John Steenhuisen be where they are, had it not been for him taking that decision to move Dion George out of an executive portfolio. And we saw, I mean, it's all really snowballed since then. All this attention that has been put on John Steenhuisen's personal life and really aired the dirty laundry from inside the party as far as finances are concerned. One cannot think about whether that would have actually happened had he not made that decision. For me, that is really the starting point that has really led to where we are. And to your point about Jordan Hill-Lewis, you will notice that in that speech, John Steenhuisen is really partly crediting himself for Jordan Hill-Lewis's rise as the Cape Town mayor. He was also, incidentally, an MP here in Parliament. He was the DA's person on finance. Interestingly enough, Dion George then took over from Jordan Hill-Lewis when Jordan moved into local government. So John is also taking credit for several of the party's members who we now see in influential positions. And Jordan Hill-Lewis has told us repeatedly over the past few months that he wouldn't stand because the loyalty to John and their friendship is greater than that. So it does look fairly obvious, but one never knows, Clement. This might really throw open the DA's leadership race completely. It might be that Jordan stands unopposed, but it might also just throw open the field to other candidates who were probably saw that their chances were really slim if they were going to try to defeat John Steenhuisen a third time around.
Let's wait for April, right? 2 months away from that elective conference of the Democratic Alliance. Lindsay Dentlinger, thank you so much for speaking to us. I thought I should bring her up. We always talk a lot about the DA politics. She understands them a lot, and she speaks to these DA leaders most often. So thanks to Lindsay. After the break, I'm going to go back to your calls and your WhatsApps. I want to bring in Lukhona Mnguni as well, who's a political analyst. Did John Steenhuisen really deliver on every single promise he made when he was elected leader of the Democratic Alliance? Didn't they say they want to abolish, triple BEE? They're making their own proposals in Parliament, but has that promise been delivered? I wonder if really he has met and delivered every single promise he made when he was elected leader. I did say earlier, whether you like John or not, this is the man who led his organization into the national government. That is a huge achievement, whether you like him or not. It is. Any party leader under whose tenure that organization gets into a government, that is an incredible achievement. So you've got to give him that at the very least. And of course, you can argue about the support that he has with Helen Zille as the federal chair and all the other leaders. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with him. So even when things are happening well, we must be fair enough to say the leader of the Democratic Alliance has managed to get the party into the GNU. But is he the right leader to sustain it there? There are some people who believe not. And that is why there's this announcement, in my view, that's come up. And that is why there's a fresh face now that is needed to take the party to the next direction, but also to sort of manage the party's presence and behavior within this government of national unity. It's 12 minutes before 11.
There's much to say about where South Africa is, and even more about where it's going.
On Thursday, 12 February, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers the State of the Nation address, live from Cape Town City Hall.
702 Cape Talk and Eyewitness News will be there, analyzing every word and bringing you the news as it breaks.
From the build-up to the address to the conversations that follow.
Join Clement Manyathela and Mandy Weiner for live coverage and in-depth analysis from 6 to 10 p.m.
Live on the radio or live stream on the Prime Media Plus app. Sona 2026. Thursday, 12 February.
Live on 702 Cape Talk and EWN.
This February, OUTsurance's love language is saving you money on your car insurance. Like 35-year-old Becca, who saves an unbelievable 500 Rand on her 2022 Volkswagen T-Cross. Get a quote now, and if OUTsurance can save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Why wait? SMS out to 45142 now. That's out to 45142. OUTsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
When tax issues get complex, you need more than general advice. You need specialist insight. AJM turns intricate tax challenges into clear strategic solutions. From disputes and litigation to long-term planning, our expertise protects what matters to you and your business. With teams in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Namibia, we deliver the rigorous analysis high-stakes decisions demand. AJM. Complex tax matters simply resolved.
Solve exciting riddles and unravel a web of suspense and adventure with Hollywood bets and Spinners on Kim Mystery Parcel. You stand a chance to win a share of 1 million rand in cash and bonus bets. Start your quest and bet 2 rand or more on selected Playtech slots every Wednesday between 2:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. and Sunday from 4:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. What scintillating secret will your parcel reveal? Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. 702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
It's 9 minutes before 11 o'clock. We're getting reaction to this announcement made by John Steenhuisen that he will not be seeking re-election at the party's elective conference in April. Dean McPherson is the KZN provincial chairperson, but also a former campaign manager for John Steenhuisen, joining us on the line. Dean, thanks for making time. Hi.
Hi, Clement. Thanks for having me.
I think I may have seen your comment on News 24 yesterday saying it's not true that John is not going to seek re-election. Was it you?
Well, that comment was given a few days before, and obviously things have been fluid. And I respect the decision that John has made. I think that he has contributed enormously to where the DA is today. It's fundamentally a different party than the one he inherited in 2019. And today we are no longer a regional party, we're no longer a provincial party, we're a party of national government. And what John has done in those 6 years is remarkable, and that he's chosen to say that actually I think we need someone else now to take us to the next level is the sign of a remarkable leader who understands that nothing in politics is permanent. And so I really welcome and support his decision wholeheartedly.
Why do you think he changed his mind? Because it appears like, as you say, things have changed over the last couple of days. I mean, Lindsay Dentlinger was telling us earlier that the last conversation she had with John Steenhuisen, he was almost adamant that he is going to run again. What do you think changed his mind?
Well, I think that, John has also keenly wants to get ahead of this foot and mouth disease outbreak that is sweeping across South Africa. He wants to focus his entire attention to that. The farming community is incredibly important to him. He has deep links to agriculture. And so this is a very personal issue that he wants to dedicate all of his time to. And he's stated boldly that he wants to be the first minister in the history of this country to defeat FMD entirely so that we never have these outbreaks. And so the worsening position of that, I think, has weighed heavily on him. And that, we also know that these local elections are going to be incredibly taxing on time. And so I think that formed a big part of his reason as well. And I think that that's the correct decision that he's taken.
But I suppose what I'm trying to figure out is when did it become this big of a priority that he doesn't want to split his time between, running a campaign for the Democratic Alliance and also, dealing with this foot and mouth disease outbreak. If he was so adamant a month ago, what happened between then and now that changed his mind? And I'm asking that question because there is a suggestion that he has been asked to actually not seek re-election by some within the Democratic Alliance.
Well, I can tell you categorically that is false. And if that was true, I would know about it. John has been in discussion with a number of colleagues that he trusts, and I can tell you that is not one of the reasons. In politics, Clement, your views are inclined to change as the circumstances and the prevailing winds of an issue evolve, and we've seen a worsening of the disease. On Friday, I know that he'll be taking stock of the first vaccines manufactured in this country for more than a quarter of a century. That's happened under him. And so all of those things have said to him that actually this is where I need to focus on. I have, as he termed, I have achieved everything I set out to do in my term of leader. and now I need to go and defeat this disease once and for all, and allow the party to choose a new leadership to take it to even greater heights than which he's built for us.
And a new leader could come and remove him as Minister of Agriculture, and he doesn't get to actually sort out this foot and mouth disease outbreak. I mean, unless he's assuming that whoever is going to come in is somehow going to keep him as Agriculture Minister.
Well, let me tell you, in the DA, we don't do backroom deals like that. If you support me, I'll do this. Of course, that's always a possibility. We serve at both the pleasure of our party and of the president, who's the head of the executive, and that's possible for any one of us. But that is not a lingering thought in his mind. I think that he has given his entire adult working career to the party that he loves so much, the DA, and I certainly commend that. I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot about loyalty, about hard work, and clarity of purpose. And I think that John will go down as a leader that in years to come, South Africans will be grateful at our party.
Yeah, Dean McPherson, thank you for coming through. DA, KZN Provincial Chairperson, a former campaign manager for George, quite a close friend of John Steenhuisen. Lukwana Mnguni is a political analyst. Lukwana, thank you for your patience in holding. What do you think? Were you surprised? And what do you think all of this tells us about what's been happening behind the scenes over the last couple of days?
Well, Clement, good morning, and good morning to your listeners. A tad bit surprised that John is categorically pulling out of the leadership race. I mean, if you look at the manner in which he states his achievements and the runway that he has set up the DA, effectively he's saying, I've set up the DA to be on a runway to become the largest party and therefore the leader of government in 2029. But at the same time, I don't want to be that leader of government in 2029. And I think that therein lies the crux of the matter. Crux of the matter is whether or not some within the party, including from funders, from former leaders, from current leaders, truly believe that John Steenhuisen is a statesman and appears to be that, and maybe they need a leader who may well embody those characteristics. And I think that for me is very, very important, one. Two, I think it tells us a lot about, I hear what Dean is saying to you. I don't think it's true. I think there has been a lot of backroom conversations, particularly after that explosive interview of Dion George when he resigned. Dion George is a veteran in the DA for all intents and purposes. And of course, it would have made a number of establishment people sit up. But I had seen that moment as John having won that round. He won that round. Maybe he lost the broader fight because he was utilizing his powers as leader very effectively. He was aware of the authority that he has over the party. And what is going to be interesting, though, for me moving forward is whether or not John will seek to knight the next leader, as Helen Zille sought to knight her successor. And will this be an end of an era for Helen's influence? I remember we've had this conversation, and Helen was on the line, Clement, when we had this conversation together, and she was denying, that, she has an influence over the party, which I still vehemently deny. That she doesn't. But the choreography of today's press briefing was quite affirmative of John's base in KwaZulu-Natal. And the last part, Clement, which I think we can explore another day because of time, is simply to say it's an interesting era for the influence of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa's politics. Is this an end of an era for KwaZulu-Natal in the ANC in terms of its dominance, in the DA in terms of how KZN has dominated influence over DA politics, in the electoral outcomes in terms of how the EFF declined in 2024 in KwaZulu-Natal. So it's interesting what to make of this province and its populace and where the political future lies, particularly. And I think for me that's an interesting thing to also think about. And it's not quite clear for me who then comes after John Steenhuisen.
Lukwana Mnguni, political analyst. Thank you.
Back to site, back to business. Back to getting the job done the way you like it. Join us from the 22nd of January to the 1st of March for the Chamberlain Back to Business promotion and get excited by incredible offers. From paint and power tools to in-store board cutting and edging. You'll have everything you need to start your year off the right way. Plus, with our wide range of rugged sideware, you'll be comfortable doing it too. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
It's official. Auto in General covers the world's best drivers. We're proud to be an official tournament partner of Live Golf South Africa 2026, the first on African soil. Stand to win tickets to the event and your share of 100,000 Rand. Here's to a world-class tournament. And the insurer that never misses. Auto in General. Never not there. Auto in General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP T's and C's online.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
South African ads that ought to be preserved for posterity and that you really enjoy being reminded about.
You got an uncle in the furniture business, Joshua Dog.
Take me, Steve Ovo. Me, I'm yours forevermore.
It's not inside, it's
on top. Oh, yeah.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. DA leader John Steenhuisen has announced his decision to bow out of the party's leadership race. The announcement comes just 2 months before the party is set to head to its National Elective Congress. During his announcement in Durban earlier today, he said his focus will now be on eradicating the foot and mouth disease as he continues as Agriculture Minister. Steenhuisen says through the DA's hard work and role in the government of national unity, South Africa is a better place.
It's mission accomplished for me. I have delivered on everything that I promised my party when I was first elected as federal leader back in 2019. I proudly picked up this party's banner when its internal polling was down to just 16%, and after the media declared the death of the DA. Built on a simple message that I believe that there was nothing wrong with the DA that couldn't be fixed by everything that is right with the DA.
In the courts now, former President Jacob Zuma has incurred yet another legal blow, this time in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. This relates to his matter involving French arms company Thales. The court has dismissed an application for leave to appeal by Zuma and the company. The two were challenging a decision by the court made in June last year, which dismissed their application to have the corruption charges against them dropped. Thales and Zuma face several counts of fraud, money laundering and corruption related to the controversial 1999 arms deal. To this now, the board of the Road Accident Fund believes it has raised the morale amongst employees after claims before a parliamentary inquiry that they had been working in a culture of fear for the past 5 years under former CEO Collins Letswalo. Interim board chairperson Kenneth Brown says at least 8 staff members who were dismissed will be brought back into the organisation. He told the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, probing governance at the fund, that board intervention to settle the organisational culture has also led to better interactions with the executive. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Board Chairperson Kenneth Brown says while the board is still trying to reconcile parallel appointments allegedly made by the former CEO with the organisational structure, it's been at pains to address issues of the radical mass suspensions and dismissals that characterise the organisation's recent past.
REMCO is firefighting now, dealing with suspensions, making sure organisational structures are sorted out, the culture gets sorted out. Then they're nowhere near even ethics.
Still, Brown believes in the past 6 months, the board has also been able to instill a level of trust within the organisation.
We have built a culture of confidence. These people that are sitting here can challenge us. We can challenge them. It's open conversation.
In what is scheduled to be the committee's penultimate session, it will today meet with Deputy Transport Minister Mkhuleko Hlengwa and officials from the department. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Good Party has extended its condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of ANC councillor Lazola Kungxe, who died after being attacked in his office in New Crossroads. Yesterday, Kungxe, who was a city councillor serving Philippi Crossroads in Nyanga and Guguletu, was reportedly attacked by unknown suspects. Good Party councillor Jonathan Cupido says the incident is a reminder that the proliferation of illegal firearms in Cape Town has reached crisis levels.
When a councillor is murdered while performing this role, it is not only a personal tragedy, but an attack on public service and community stability.
Cupido has called on police to bring the perpetrators to book.
Communities and public representatives cannot be expected to live and work under constant threat. We urge the relevant authorities to act decisively to remove illegal weapons from our streets and to prioritize the safety of residents and those who serve them.
And the African Growth and Opportunity Act has been given Senate approval for a one-year extension following deliberations by lawmakers in the United States. Calls for an extension of AGOA received strong bipartisan support in the U.S. House of Representatives last month and have now been given the green light by the Senate. AGOA, which was established in the year 2000, exempts eligible African countries from taxes on their exports to the U.S. Nogukanya Mdambo has more.
The legislation lapsed in September last year, sparking fears of a pinch on investment, jobs and exports for qualifying sub-Saharan countries. The latest extension is only until the end of 2026, despite repeated calls by some African leaders to extend the trade pact by a longer period. While Trade and Industry Minister Park Stow says the extension will provide some relief to exporters that benefit from the scheme, he says he hopes the short extension is the first step towards more clarity around investment and purchasing decisions. Ministerial spokesperson Kamil Ali.
The AGOA extension comes at a time when South Africa continues to engage constructively with the US on an agreement on reciprocal tariffs, which seeks to reduce the 30% tariff imposed by the US.
U.S. President Donald Trump will still have the final say before the bill is signed into law. Nogukanya Mdambo, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $5,064.89 an ounce. The rand is at $15.92 to the dollar, $21.84 to the pound, $18.86 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.33 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 South. This is in the city of Tshwane. An accident has been reported along this route right near Rigel Avenue. Delays of about 20 minutes. Please be on the lookout there, or try to use the N14 or even the R21 north through other areas within the nation's capital. And then if you're traveling on the N1 South in the Waterfall area, we do have roadworks taking place approaching the Baku turnoff, causing some issues there. Please be on the lookout.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 27 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. DA leader John Steenhuisen has announced his decision to bow out of the party's leadership race.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
9 minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome, Dumelang. This is the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. As you've heard, the breaking just in news and eyewitness news, something we were covering in the previous hour, John Steenhuisen's announcement that he won't be seeking re-election at the DA's elective conference. And he said during that address that I will be remembered as a leader that has delivered on every promise that I made to the party when I was elected, and I'll be remembered for leading the DA into government and for putting South Africa into the right path. Let me just play some more of your reaction to this breaking story, and then we'll get into our listener's choice feature.
Morning, Clement. It's Zamika Yamkoeva from Chakos Polar Park. The action speaks it out by itself. The walking out of the stage without waiting any questions it says it all. He is stepping out of leadership for DA because there are reasons that are pushing him out. Yeah, he has been pushed out of the leadership race by the elders or whatever. But thank you.
Good morning, Clement. They say a good dancer knows when to leave the stage. What John did is a good thing. He showed a good leadership. His political career was full of scandals. So I would advise him that immediately after his term, he must just leave politics for good. Thank you very much. Peter Maila Machava from Letswana.
John Steenhuisen is doing the right thing, stepping down now. It's not like some of the NC people that are too old to do a job. They know he knows when to go. Apart from you can see what you want to see, Clement, but he knows when to give over the job to someone else. He knows when it's time. He's done what he wanted to do. It's not like the NC members that holds on to a job until they are 80.
Okay. Good morning, Clement. Clement, John Steenhuisen, he must give us very good and valid reasons why he is leaving. This thing here, he wants to commit himself to the government or his ministry and foot and mouth and what is just hogwash, sorry to use the word. But honestly, I read a story on Daily Maverick this morning. How did they know what John Steenhuisen was going to say? Because everything he said is what they wrote on the Daily Maverick. So they knew exactly what John Steenhuisen is going to say, that just as a scapegoat. Mara, it's a good thing that he's gone.
Yeah, look, it's quite interesting. Yeah, let's see. Let's wait and see. You heard his friend, one of his closest friends, Dean McPherson. I spoke to him before the news at 11 o'clock, and I asked him, because here's the thing, guys. If really you want to praise John for, he's doing a good thing, he's so honorable for leaving, he has served his 2 terms, then why did he consider running for leader again just a month or 2 ago? I get it. You guys are praising him that, he's decided to leave, as if he never decided to seek re-election. And I asked Dean, why? Why did he? What happened? And Dean says, well, it's politics. His mind may have changed, but this is politics. So as things happen and you consider things, you can change your mind, which is fine. Everybody is allowed to change their mind. But I'm saying also, don't look at it as if, this is a position that he has always held since last year. No. If anything, this is a man who was going to seek re-election. And my perspective is that he was told, don't. That's my view. And it may very well be wrong. But when you look at the former leaders of the DA, when you look at the concerns from the funders, when you look at the new injection the party is looking for ahead of the elections, last year already there was a debate, even among senior leaders in the DA about John Steenhuisen, whether that's the face that could be president. Like, do you think John Steenhuisen could be the head of state? Is he statesman-like? They were debating amongst themselves. And now, here we are. He leaves. And the DA will put somebody up that at least they're able to negotiate after the 2029 elections, should things get to that level and say, we want our leader to be the head of state or to be the deputy president. But whatever you say, you can't take away also the reality that John Steenhuisen actually got the party into different heights. Like, it was under his leadership that the DA got into national government, and that is a huge, huge achievement. It's 14 minutes now after 11 o'clock.
Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's Choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
All right, we get on to our Listener's Choice feature now, and we are talking today about Something that we actually had a conversation about last week, and one of our listeners asked that we bring in someone who can explain what the consequences are likely to be. We're talking about this possible impact of the proposed tariffs on Chinese and Indian cars. This is a critical crossroad for South Africa's automotive industry. So we have invited someone who can help us understand what the potential implications are. Remember, it was reported last week that government is considering the introduction of higher import tariffs on vehicles from China and India, a move that has since sparked intense debate across the sector. We debated this as well on the open line last week. So you've got proponents that are arguing that these tariffs are necessary to protect local manufacturing and jobs. But you've got critics of these proposed tariffs warning that they could actually raise vehicle prices and, as a result, hit the retail sector, the retail motor industry, and limit consumer access to affordable cars. So, Tsetle Di Teko is a NAMSA Chief Policy Officer joining us now on the line. NAMSA is the Automotive Business, of course, Automotive Business Council, who's joining us now on the line. Tsetle, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Clement, and thanks for the invite. Great to finally be on the other side of the call after many years of listening.
Yeah. So let's start with what you think are the potential implications. If I remember correctly, as NAMSA, you've indicated that the industry is not necessarily calling for steep tariff hikes, but rather refined adjustments to support local manufacturing. Could you clarify just what specific tariff or incentive changes the industry does support and why?
Thanks, Clement. I think for the benefit of listeners, let's take a step back. So we have a rule-based mechanism in South Africa, which is WTO effectively supervised, or at least and within this rule-based mechanism, you then have an arrangement where you could have things called bound rates versus actual rates. So the actual rate for getting a car into South Africa is currently 25% duty. And the bound rate, it says that it's 50. So the bound rate is an agreement with the WTO that South Africa cannot go beyond the 50% mark. However, in its application, if you're going to put bound rate on all imports into South Africa, you cannot be selective around which imports attract the bound rate or attracts the new actual rate. So once you apply it, you're not going to apply it only to imports from China and India. It's going to be imports from any other country. And you cannot also discriminate between which vehicle types you're going to impose that particular tariff increase on. So you're going to have this blanket application of the new tariff, and it's going to apply to all vehicles from all countries. Now, the actual goal with what you were looking for before implementing such a tariff was to create a local market that's able to support local manufacturing. So what then that entails, it means that you're looking at the vehicles that are now coming into your market that are in direct competition with those that you are producing in the market that we have in South Africa. And so the blanket approach then therefore goes into other vehicle categories that otherwise you're not trying to create room in. And those vehicle categories then could affect already a household in South Africa that's strapped and that's trying to get into mobility. And so, so in the scenario where the language is we imposing tariffs on Chinese imports, the language there should have been we doing a safeguard tariff increase to protect the local industry. But that's not the language. The language is effectively using the bound rate as allowed by WTO, but it's going to have a universal application. And so therefore, the consequences of it are not necessarily fully appreciated because the language in media circles or the language that stemmed out of that portfolio committee presentation is Chinese imports. And so the whole framing then loses context. But with this context, then you could appreciate then, therefore, that even the OEMs that we have locally have been part of a program by government called APDP. And in this program, they've been asked to specialize. So BMW does not do 5 types of vehicles. They do the X3. And because they specialize with the X3, all the other model variables that they have, whether it's the 3 Series, the 1 Series, the X1, the X5, and so forth, those particular vehicles are imported. And so it therefore means the business case of a local OEM like them will therefore also carry that inflationary adjustment on the imports that it would be bringing. And that was not necessarily in conception when the number was thrown out, because as the number was thrown out, China was the focus and not necessarily that universal application that now puts everyone under pressure.
Okay, so what alternatives to tariffs does NAMSA recommend to level the playing field without significantly raising consumer prices?
So the first thing would be that was NAMSA says let's safeguard the industry, means let's be deliberate around where do we increase tariffs and why. So, but on the assumption that therefore limits that tariff increases into particular segments of vehicles and to particular economies that we feel have created a market distortion. So, and within the WTO rules, such a mechanism could be allowed as long as we could prove that there's harm. And that's the case. We believe it's a conversation between industry and ITEC to prove harm, and so to have that safeguard measure for a particular class or for a particular economy supplying vehicles into our country. That's one. In the absence of that, Clement, I think everybody would appreciate that in our market currently as it exists, there is a big chunk of tax burden that is laid on the price of the car over above just the value of the car before you drive it. So there's already duties that you're paying on a car. There's already, for instance, VAT and carbon taxes. And you pay also a luxury tax ad valorem on the car that you currently have in your market. And so the challenge then is, can we rebate some of that tax burden with the current existing tools, make South African produced vehicles slightly cheaper, on the basis that they are already part of a program that is supposed to save them from those particular tax burdens anyway. So the whole APDP program is created to help those that are making cars locally to have some coverage on the tax burden that otherwise importers would have. And so it's also into how do we balance that basket of taxes and rebate that basket to transfer value to the consumer and make locally produced vehicles competitive in the marketplace. So there are levers like those available in this particular conversation.
And do you think that then, if we take that approach, then we're able to get to a point where there's more appetite for local vehicle manufacturing? So,
look, again, Clement, there are other conversations that tend to be outside our influence, and they would be also outside the influence of any type of social influence. I mean, how do we tell the South African market that has fallen in love with the availability of affordable mobility through whatever mechanisms are in place right now, and then we shift them towards a proudly South African a culture that would then support local consumption? So there are vehicle categories where we know that at a price point we could make locally produced vehicles competitive. There are categories where we know that such things as the LCV market, which is the light commercial vehicle market, where we produce bakkies and we are a proper bakkie producing country. We produce high volumes. In fact, we actually are at a level where we are responsible for almost 5% of global production in that segment. And so there is a conversation there to say, how do we protect that particular segment where there is competitive advantage and the consumer culture still supports locally produced vehicles? In segments where there's passenger vehicles and they're competing with an influx of imports and they've lost market share, does this particular adjustment still revive people's compassion for those vehicles? I think that we are at that particular inflection point where we could still sway the market towards South African produced vehicles. I still think that there's a patriotic society that could appreciate why South Africa, why driving a South African produced vehicle supports South African jobs and supports localization in broad terms. But again, it's a biased decision, and to some extent, it's all speculative until it's enacted.
Yeah, speaking of jobs, I could be wrong, but I think you had once, as NAMSA, conducted or commissioned an economic modeling of how different tariff scenarios would affect local production, employment, and consumer prices. What did you find in that report?
So, without being specific, so the problem we're solving for is called localization, and to solve for localization, it means how much vehicles that we assemble in South Africa, can we source in terms of components locally, and can we also put on our shop floor where there's no technical capability locally, and we could have that technical capability in our OEMs, and we can therefore source local. So the challenge with localization is scale, and scale looks into what are the volumes that will make even a would-be entrepreneur to get to levels where they're profitable producing these components for the local market, and we have enough economies of scale to have cost competitiveness. And so on the scale question, South Africa is currently hovering around 600,000 units, and it is the aim of South Africa to get to a place where they are able to produce almost 1% of global production, which is around 1.4 million. That said, our installed capacity currently in the country is 900,000. And 900,000, it means we are 300,000 short of that particular production capacity that we have as a country. So in terms of jobs and production output capability, if we were able, say, to grow the demand of locally produced vehicles to be on par with imports, so we create a situation where currently we sit on something like 38 to 62, and we balance it out to 50-50. That will then get that conversation around capacity utilization up, and it will put us closer to that 800,000 mark or 700,000 mark, and as time goes, we could then grow it to that full capacity that's currently installed, which is about 900,000. And then the jobs that will come with it then will then go with that production capacity. So there is effectively a room in our current default position to grow production to 300,000, and it will come with those jobs. That demand will have to be driven by factors, and some of those factors you'll appreciate they might be out of our control. So factor number one would be how do we balance out local market to that 50-50 split. Two, it will also go into how well we do business with Africa, with the continent. And currently, our growth in the continent was by 10,000 units, but it grew from some base of 25,000 to 35,000 year on year up to December last year. But where we have serious growth, Clement, it's in the EU. And the EU is a market, like we always say, far away. It's 5 days on a boat away from South Africa. And to fully appreciate that market is that market has already told us that they're not going to be buying ICE vehicles from us, internal combustion engines. And this is effectively 80% of our production as we speak. And we still have to get those laws in the country that will allow us to manufacture these cars for that particular market. Now, 80% of vehicles that we exported as a country last year went to that particular market. So it imports close on 400,000 units from South Africa. And it is currently, because of markets like the EU, that we continue to make vehicles. And losing a market like the United States, this is where we feel the pinch, because a market like the United States creates a buffer for that particular market that's currently our primary market. So we become too dependent on this market, and whatever shifts they do, whether for green transition reasons or for CBAM reasons, which they will affect what we do as a country, and we're not necessarily fully buffered. And so it leaves us vulnerable to whatever political or geo winds that would flow to Europe.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been insightful, Tsetle Diteko. Really appreciated. He is the NAMSA Chief Policy Officer. That's the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers of South Africa. So we're going to get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines now. And when we come back, we are going to start with our sharing space. This is where we share our stories about everything and anything. We've got, I think it's an email or a voice note today from one of our listeners. So we'll play you that or read that email and then get your thoughts. For now, though, let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's 11:30. Maggie, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. DA leader John Steenhuisen has confirmed his withdrawal from the party's leadership contest. Steenhuisen says he will not be throwing his name in the hat to fight to retain his role as the DA's federal leader. He made the announcement during a media briefing in Durban this morning. He says he wants to focus on his duties as agriculture minister amid the country's largest foot and mouth disease outbreak. We move to the capital, where more details are emerging on the role Witness F played in facilitating communication between alleged criminal tenderpreneur Vusmusi Ket Madlanga and suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. Witness F, a member of Gauteng's organised crime, has confirmed to the Madlanga Commission that he was instructed by Sibiya to invite Madlanga to an event at his home sometime in 2014. The Commission has been going through evidence of WhatsApp messages between Witness F and various senior officers, including Gauteng head of organised crime Richard Shibiri. And academic activities at the Rondebult Primary School in Ekurhuleni have been halted due to an issue with scholar transport operators. Some drivers are refusing to offer their services due to payment issues with the Gauteng Education Department. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the M1 South, we've got bumper-to-bumper traffic between Grayston Drive and Corlett Drive. This is due to an accident right near the Glenhove Road exit. And then we've got roadworks that are taking place between Grayston and Corlett Drive. So if you are also traveling on the M1 North towards Corlett, these roadworks will also hold you down for a bit. And if you are traveling on the N12 as well as the R24 West, we've got delays between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic reported on the N12 East heading towards Snake Road. This is due to an accident that's been reported near Atlas Road. Delays coming from the R21. Do expect about a 20-minute hold up. And then if you're traveling on the N1 South in the city of Tshwane, another accident scene causing heavy traffic volumes. This one is right as you come out of Hasfontein Road towards the Rigel Avenue exit. It's causing heavy traffic volumes. Please use the R21 North as well as the N14 North towards areas like Centurion and even the CBD. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
All right, 11:32. We start with our Sharing Space feature, and today we've got an email we received from a listener. This is from, I see, Anonymous. So what I'm going to do is read you this entire email, and then I am going to come take your calls and your WhatsApps. Normally, our listeners ask for advice if they're sharing something with us. But maybe you don't have advice, but you want to share your own experience. Maybe you've experienced something similar. You can do so by calling on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. So here we go. Hi Clement, I hope you're well. I have been friends with this lady for the past 9 years. I met her through a mutual friend. We became very close. In fact, I regarded her as my sister. A week wouldn't pass without us talking. We were there for each other. There was a time she was hospitalized twice. I was there every time to see her because I regarded her as my sister. We would lend each other money, but that was not frequent. We paid each other well and no problems regarding money. We were very close, and I loved her and wanted nothing but the best of her. There was a time she wanted to quit her job, as she was complaining about the toxicity of her work environment. I advised her not to quit without any income. I advised her to get another job first before resigning. She was on the verge of sending a resignation letter to her boss. I'm glad she listened and she didn't resign. She's a very smart woman. She tendered, and we prayed that she gets the tender. Oh, is that what they say now? She tendered. That means you applied for a tender. Okay. She tendered, and we prayed that she gets the tender. We told each other our businesses. I just want to paint how close we were. We both struggled financially, hence we helped each other when one can. Well, guess what? She got the tender, and we were very excited. I was very happy for her. She quit her job. I asked her to lend me 7,500 Rand so that I can float and pay for my credit card. I was going to pay her back with my bonuses. She assured me that once she receives her benefits from her previous company, she will transfer the funds to me. So I just want to make sure I read that amount right. Okay, so it is 7,500 rand, not 70,000. So 7,500 rand. And then she goes further to say, I was relieved and assured that she would transfer the money. I was battling financially at the time, and she knew that. She went AWOL on me. I wondered. I texted her to find out if she was able to help, and she told me her boyfriend said they have other things to sort out. That time, they just met with this new man. She can't help me, she said. My heart sank. I told her it was fine, but deep down I was hurt. I asked myself, since when do we ask our boyfriends about our money? I mean, she met this guy recently. When I texted her, she told me she's very busy. I understood then because she had this big project she needed to manage. I then decided to give her space. Weeks went by. I wondered if she doesn't have any breaks between. I wondered if it was money that changed her. I then realized that money doesn't really change anyone. It only reveals the true character of a person. It's over 10 months of not talking. The whole thing used to hurt me a lot, but I've now accepted. I have moved on. And my question to the listeners is, was she a friend? Regards, Anonymous. Yo, this is probably the first ever email we've received that is so long. But I also get why it is long, because Anonymous was trying to get us to understand the kind of close relationship that she has with her friend. So they've been friends for 9 years. From what Anonymous has painted to us, these people were bombers. They were like besties. They were with each other everywhere. A week wouldn't pass without them talking. They've lent each other money. And when this friend tendered and got a tender, Anonymous then asked her, hey, please, can you please lend me 7,500 rand? And this woman has since not responded. And when she responded much later, she told Anonymous that, no, my boyfriend said that they've got other things to sort out. So I can't help you. So Anonymous doesn't understand why her friend is bringing in her boyfriend in the conversation that involves them as friends. That's why she's asking, since when do you ask your boyfriend about your money? So Anonymous is asking, was this actually a friend? Because the friend never ended up, lending Anonymous some money. It's been over 10 months now and they're not talking. What are your thoughts? 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Anonymous, if I were to give you advice, one, I would say do not feel, and I'm not saying you are, but do not feel entitled to someone else's money. So if you asked for money from a friend and for some reason they don't want to help you or they can't help you, I don't know if you should be upset like that. And look, don't get me wrong. If you've got a friend, you guys have been helping each other, you've lent each other money, you've returned it, and you've had that kind of relationship, I get it. But if it gets to a point where a friend says, Ish, I've got other things to do with the money, or me and my boyfriend, or me and my wife have decided that we want to use the money for 1, 2, 3, that is their decision. And unfortunately or fortunately, that is their money. That is their money. So you can't be upset at the fact that your friend and her boyfriend have decided that they want to use the money for other things. I think if you feel that you needed her the most now and she wasn't able to come through for you, maybe look at how you want to change your friendship with this friend, if really you still want to continue with it. But it is her money at the end of the day, and she can decide whenever whether she wants to assist or not. And whether she decides on her own or with the help of her boyfriend, that's their choice, because that's their money at the end of the day. What advice do you have for Anonymous? And do you think this friend of hers has always been a friend? Give us a call or send a WhatsApp voice note.
There's much to say about where South Africa is, and even more about where it's going.
On Thursday, 12 February, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers the State of the Nation address, live from Cape Town City Hall.
702 Cape Talk and Eyewitness News will be there, analyzing every word and bringing you the news as it breaks.
From the build-up to the address to the conversations that follow.
Join Clement Manyathela and Mandy Weiner for live coverage and in-depth analysis from 6 to 10 p.m.
Live on the radio or live stream on the Prime Media Plus app. Sona 2026. Thursday, 12 February.
Live on 702 Cape Talk and EWN.
Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by the Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
Make 2026 the year of venturing further in the Tank 300. With its 5-star luxury cabin and powerful 2.4 turbo diesel engine, the Tank 300 is built for the scenic route and is available from only $7,399 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
19 minutes before 12 o'clock. Straight to your calls and WhatsApps. Kenneth, let's start with you in Kramerville. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure.
Anonymous has a problem. Anonymous has a serious problem. If they cannot understand that the friend doesn't want to give them money, clearly they want to hate the person. So they must respect the fact that the friend did not give them money. If you want money, you go to the bank and take a loan. You don't bother your friends, because these kind of things create problems in friendships. People taking money from their friends and then they are not returning the money, even though there are no interests that are imposed on the money. Please, the anonymous needs to understand that the friend chose not to help and make peace with it.
I agree, Kenneth. That's why I said don't feel entitled to your friend's money, Anonymous. As hurtful as it may be, that's her choice and that's her money. It is her money. Kenneth in Kramerville, thank you for your call. Your WhatsApps.
There's this post on Instagram on a reel. This guy is saying that the moment people will understand that the maximum amount of money you can lend someone is 200 rand. More than that, if you want more than 200 rand, you can go to the bank to borrow money. But you lending that 200 rand knowing that if it does not come back, it's not a lot of money. And then you make peace with it that it's 50-50. It might come back, it might not come back. And if people want more than that, they can go to the bank. I think loaning somebody 7,500, that's a bit too harsh to ask someone for that kind of money. And if Anonymous said he was going to pay her friend back when she gets the bonuses, then she must wait to get the bonuses and to pay off her debt.
That thing happens a lot, Clement. And if you and I are good friends, like Anonymous had said they were with her friend or her ex-friend, part of being that, having that kind of friend is understanding that I am because you are and you are because I am. So I have the understanding that if keep a right in life, you are one of the first people that override the learn not to care. And I also expect the same from you. Because Anonymous was not asking to be given that money. She had intentions of paying it back. So even if she was not upset, I would I can bet you now that relationship was never going to be the same.
Hi, Clement. Patty from Spayview. With a friendship like that, no matter how long they were close friends, sometimes money separate friendship is a problem. My advice to her is she has to reevaluate the friendship and set the boundaries. She now knows what's going on. Friendship, no money involved. I know she's hurt, but you have to move on quietly. But one day the same friend will come back and apologize. Believe you me.
Yeah. Hey, Nobantu, you are in Johannesburg. Hi. Rona le kae?
Rona, Madimeja, when I have a problem with your perspective because I don't think you are understanding. There was an agreement between these two, the money would be lent. And that's what I think you are missing. That's what is hurting Anonymous. And then they went and changed their mind and didn't have the courtesy to come back and say, no, my mind has changed.
Yeah.
It was only when Anonymous was following to say, it guys parcela. And the person like, my boyfriend says 1, 2, 3. It's because of the way the change of mind was not handled. So Anonymous is not entitled at all, in my perspective. The friends changed their mind, went back on their agreement, and that I think is what's hurting Anonymous. How entitled them to peace.
Yeah, I think you're raising a good point, Nobantu, and thank you so much for flagging that. You're right. In this email, Anonymous says, my friend assured me that once she receives her benefits from a previous company, she will transfer the funds. And then it's only later when she was asking the friend, hey, but where are the funds? And the friend went AWOL, number one. And then when she came back, she was like, me and my boyfriend have decided that we're going to sort other things out with the money. So I get you. So there was a responsibility on the part of the friend to also come back and say, I know I promised to help you out, but I can't do it anymore.
100%. That would be the best way to handle it. And if the friend had done that and then Anonymous comes with a letter, then we would have a right to say, hi, Anonymous, we're not entitled.
Yeah. But why is Anonymous then questioning Hore? But when do we ask our boyfriends about our money? You see, I also have an issue with that because anybody can decide whether they consult with their mother, their father, their partner about their money.
Absolutely. I think that's a side issue. Anonymous is in turmoil now, trying to make sense of what happened and trying to explore different options.
Yeah.
But the root cause, give that one. And then change their mind and then didn't come and tell me proactively. I had to find out. And Mr. Jaivin, you don't know who's calling me, who's stressing me. And I had the assurance that I'm going to be out of the situation.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Nobantu, thank you so much. Nobantu calling us from Johannesburg. Madimecha, you are in Senton. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Hello.
Sure, Madimecha, go ahead.
How are you?
Sharp, how are you?
All right. Yeah, no, I think the friend is being unfair. The one who didn't borrow 7,500 to the lady because they've been borrowing each other money from the way it goes. Like they've been helping each other. Why now she's got more money and she doesn't see the point to help the friend? It's like you saying, no, I've got money now. I will never borrow from you anymore. So I don't see the need to borrow you. If you understand what I'm saying. She has more money now. She doesn't see the need to help the friend anymore. But they've been helping each other for so long.
Okay.
Yes.
Madimecha, thank you for your contribution. Madimecha is calling us from Senton. More of your calls and WhatsApps after the break. It's 12 minutes before 12.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
I understand some water has been restored in parts of Midrand, but not everywhere.
Yes, we going towards the good direction.
It's been more than 6 days. Why is there no water in Midrand?
This is a combination of many things.
So how soon will water flow in all the taps of Midrand?
Generally, it takes us 3 to 5 days, and we've resumed restoring from yesterday.
Do you have water, sir?
Yes, I do have water.
Appreciate your time. Kukuletu Kuma, Joburg Water Manager of Electromechanical.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
To you, it's a bee. To your dog, it's a yummy flying jelly bean. But it could also end up being an expensive vet bill. Get peace of mind with Outsurance Pet Insurance from only 65 Rand a month. You get claims paid in 1 day, a fixed excess, choose your own vet, and you could get a cash out bonus. SMS quote to 45149. That's quote to 45149. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
All cars are designed to move. A Mazda is crafted to move you. Every line, every detail, form in motion. Beauty with purpose, so that when you drive, you connect. Car and driver become one. One rhythm builds, holds, breaks free. The feeling will find you. Mazda. Wonder awaits.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
10 minutes before 12 o'clock. Shabirwa, you are in Limpopo. Good morning.
Hey, Madimeta.
Hey, Tada.
Shapuzwa.
I came not, Wana.
Bona, I want to tell you, different territory. There's no such money. That anonymous or unfair. And it's not that the friend was not willing to help, but for reasons. For his or her own life. So if it's not a refusal, but there is a reason behind it.
Yeah, okay.
Over the money Yes.
All right, Labira in Limpopo, thank you. Here some of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Clement, I 100% agree with you. Money and friendship do not mix. And notice how Anonymous does not tell us the previous amounts that they used to help each other with. It was probably something like 500 rands here, 1,000 rand there. It was probably never above 2,000 rands. And then now, all of a sudden, that friend got a tender, then Anonymous just went with a high amount. So I don't think friend was wrong. And I understand Anonymous hurt, but money and friendship do not mix.
Clement, it boils down to one thing. Was their friendship built on, you're my friend because I get something from you? And if I can't give it to you, friendship is gone. Because that is not love, that is not trust, that is not hope, that is not honesty. A friendship is not built on what you get from me. A friendship is built on who are we together and what is it that we believe on. And no matter what, we're going to stay together. That's what friendship is built up on. Thank you.
Eyona nto ndifuna uyibuza, was she expecting something in return ngelixa encedisa itshomi yakhe? Ngoba now she's being entitled kwizinto zabantu. And if xa itshomi yakhe ingakwazi umnceda, ayikwazi umnceda. And no matter what the reasons are, ayikwazi umnceda. That's it.
Good morning, Clement. Well, Anonymous, there are many attributes of friendship. And I believe there were other aspects of the friendship which made your friendship with your former friend valuable. So why should the focus be on money and not the other attributes? Just like Clement said, you shouldn't feel entitled to being borrowed money. If she was owing you money, it would be another story. But she doesn't owe you anything. No one owes you anything in life. Even if you had some sort of a relationship where she would borrow you money, but they do not owe you a dime. It's sad that the friendship is over, but that's just the truth, my sister.
Clement, maybe it's not just only about the money. I'm sure he is upset about the money and he's hurt about the money. But maybe the greater loss and grief here is a friendship, because it sounds like their friendship went from they were really, really close and then to like all of a sudden like AWOL, like now she's no longer available and all of that. And maybe if she could have said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the money, I'm not able to, but maybe she was still present, maybe it would have been a different story. But it sounded like the friend just, once she got the tender, she was just absent and no longer available. So maybe that's the deeper grief and not just money.
Maybe. Cheryl, you're in Bryanston. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Hey.
My take on this matter is that you should never do anything for anyone and expect something back in return. I have lent money, 27,000 Rand, to a guy in a dog park, and we got to know each other by visiting that park every day. And he was let down by someone else who owed him 150,000 Rand. So I lent him the money, and he paid me back within a month. But I told him, don't even pay me the interest. I don't want the interest. No, we'll do it my way. We signed a legal-wise form and everything, and then I didn't get the interest, but then I wrote it off anyway because I told him, don't pay me back interest. I also lent a friend a few years ago 70,000 Rand because he was struggling in his business, and he was an elderly gentleman. It took him 1.5 years to pay me back, but I regret ever asking for that money back. I regret, because we should never, as the Bible says, we should never do anything for anyone expecting anything back.
Cheryl in Bryanston, thank you for your call.
Hello, Clement. Listening from Mozambique here. I believe Anonymous, she's quite right. I believe the issue is her friend brought up her boyfriend, and that's not how she was supposed to justify. It's okay to say I don't have money, but don't just come and tell me that because you cannot borrow me money because your boyfriend says this and this. We've been friends for some time, so why do you want to bring up your friend? It's okay to say I don't have any money, I've got other things, but don't say we have like years and years we've been helping each other, but now you're just going to tell me it's not possible because of your boyfriend or your partner. It doesn't make any sense.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Asi Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million Rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 Rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
If you're still thinking about one more trip before the calendar fills up, this is your sign. Fly Lift from Johannesburg to Durban from just 595 Rand. Complimentary snacks, drinks, and the kind of flexibility that makes travel feel easy. So whether it's a quick reset, a weekend away, or a last summer escape, catch a lift. Book now at lift.co.za. That's from 595 Rand. T's and C's apply.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandoz.
Know a little about a lot, from headlines to horsepower, parenting to pop culture. If you stay switched on with News 24, it's time to cash in. Play the Raise Your Game quiz every day this week from 1 p.m. on 702 afternoons with Rilebogile Maboja. Answer 3 questions, stack your winnings, and walk away with up to 5,000 Rand cash. Thanks to News 24. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. The Raise Your Game quiz with News 24. Only on 702. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Mandy, good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
What's popping today on the show?
So, of course, as you would have heard on your show today, John Steenhuisen not running for a third term as DA leader. He says it's mission accomplished. We'll speak about that. Jacob Zuma has lost a court bid to thwart his arms deal corruption case 20 years later. South Africa will continue in AGOA for another year. We'll unpack that. COSATU welcoming the increase on the minimum wage. And it World Read Aloud Day today, Clement. So we'll talk about the importance of not just reading in isolation, but reading with others.
All right, that's the Midday Report with Mendy Winner. Thanks for listening to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We're back again tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. DA leader John Steenhuisen has confirmed his withdrawal from the party's leadership contest. Steenhuisen says he will not be throwing his name in the hat to fight to retain his role as the DA's federal leader. He made the announcement during a media briefing in Durban this morning. He says he wants to focus on his duties as agriculture minister amid the country's largest foot and mouth disease outbreak. Alpha Ramushana has more from Durban.
Mission accomplished. That's how John Steenhuisen has described his 7-year tenure as the leader of the Democratic Alliance. Steenhuisen has hailed himself as the party's most successful leader, saying it was under his leadership that the DA moved from opposition into government. Primary goal, and now that it's been achieved, he believes it's time to hand over the reins to someone who can take the party forward.
There's an important next mission that beckons for our party, and that is to build upon my legacy and the DA's success in the GNU in order to turn our party into the biggest party in South Africa. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is a mission for the next DA leader.
Insiders believe that Steenhuisen's withdrawal from the leadership race paves the way for Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis to take over the reins. Hill-Lewis has previously said on several occasions that he would not challenge Steenhuisen, his close friend, for the DA's top position. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Durban.
Staying in KwaZulu-Natal, former President Jacob Zuma has incurred another legal blow, this time in the Pietermaritzburg High Court, in his matter involving French arms company Thales. The court has dismissed an application for leave to appeal by Zuma and the company. In June, the court dismissed their application to have the corruption charges against them dropped. Thales and Zuma face several counts of fraud, money laundering and corruption relating to the controversial 1999 arms deal. Khomotso Modise has more.
In June, Judge Nkosinathi clearly dismissed an application by former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales, who argued that the charges against them should be dropped because 2 of their key witnesses had died and they would not be guaranteed a fair trial. Both Zuma and the company intend on challenging this ruling, and they approached the High Court for leave to appeal, which clearly also dismissed this morning. In his ruling today, Clearly said he's not convinced another court would find that he applied the law incorrectly. He says he's not persuaded that there are prospects of success on appeal for Zuma and Thales. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News.
We move to the capital, where more details are emerging on the role Witness F played in facilitating communication between alleged criminal tenderpreneur Vusmusi Ket Matlala and suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. Witness F, a member of Gauteng Organised Crime, has confirmed to the Madlanga Commission that he was instructed by Sibiya to invite Matlala to an event at his home sometime in 2024. The Commission has been